What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the party. Today we're live at the National Harbor in Washington, D.C., and I'll turn you around in a second so you can see some of the beautiful boats and the Ferris wheel. But today's period of instruction is going to talk about American history, American Revolutionary history specifically, so you can come to understand what it was that caused these Englishmen who were over here in these colonies just asking for their rights as Englishmen to create what has now become the greatest country in the world, the most powerful and capable country in the world with the most kinetic potential that we're trying to release on this show. So welcome to X-Ray America. The purpose of this show is to educate and unite the citizens of the United States so we can make more informed decisions and have a higher level of public discourse. I want to heal the divide and bring Americans together. And you know, it's tough to know where you're going to go if you don't know where you've been. So that's what today's lesson is about. And let me jump in here. I see some people here. It looks like Sunkist is in the chat. Welcome. I'm really glad to see you. Thank you for being here. All right, good. Everybody coming on in. Welcome to the chat. I'll give you time to come in. Tell your friends that we're live. Again, the channel has been shadow banned because of some of the videos and the shorts that we put out. I hope you'll go back and look at those videos and shorts to get a good idea of what's going on in the United States now, according to your own Congress, according to our own Congress, right? Our elected officials in Congress and the Judiciary Committee and the Oversight Committee have let us know that some pretty serious things have been going on in the country recently, and they began to stand up against it. They're standing up against it, full-throatedly shouting what people have been shadow banned for saying online for more than a year. So I really encourage you to go to house.oversight.gov and just read the reports from Congressman Comer from Kentucky. And then I would also encourage y'all to go on over to house.judiciary.com and look at what the Judiciary Committee has put out regarding some painful, real facts that we need to work through as Americans in order to set ourselves up for better positioning and success in the future. Those of you who work for police departments, federal agencies, or bass fishermen in the United States will notice that I still have my mustache. And that's so you'll trust me, right? I look like you so you can trust me. I'm telling you the truth, but I did trim it. I think it's a little bit more even now. All right, let me hop in the chat. What are you guys saying to me? I'm sorry, I can't really see it. It's pretty bright right now. But I'm gonna pull you over here. All right, cool. So Mona is saying hello. Hello to Mona. Barbara says hello. Silly says hello. Thank you to the moderators, especially for being in here, right? I know I probably look funny with my glasses on my face. Charlene's in the chat. Nebraska Patriots in the chat. Penny, hello. Dale, hello. Good to see you too. It's very bright out here, folks, and I had the pleasure of getting a little bit of a TBI on a deployment in 2005. So I'm going to keep the glasses on, so I'm super polite to everybody. Again, today, we're going to talk about some information that I learned in a lecture from a gentleman named Dr. Mark Stoller, S-T-O-L-E-R. And Dr. Stoller is a professor emeritus at the University of Vermont. And additionally, he's on the board of advisors to the United States military on history. So he advises the United States military on history, and he's a professor emeritus at the University of Vermont. So I think that you're going to like the information. The lecture is called A Skeptic's Guide to History. And Sylvia, I can't see the chat right now, so you're running the chat. And thank you to all the moderators, certainly. But Sylvia, as I'm working through some of our history, right, some of the legislation which led to the American Revolution, the policy choices of England, which led to the American colonists going into open rebellion, we're going to talk about what those policy choices were. And so hopefully our elected and appointed officials can keep that in mind and make very good, thoughtful policy choices, as the House Judiciary and the House Oversight Committee have absolutely been doing recently. So I really encourage you to go and look. They've announced in Congress all the evidence that was on Hunter Biden's laptop. They've talked about how the Department of Justice intentionally suppressed messages related to Hunter Biden's laptop. Intelligence officials, more than 50 intelligence officials, signed a letter saying that it was probably a lie before the election. And according to Mike Morell, who's a former director of the CIA, he did it on purpose because he wanted Biden to win. So these are some things that the House Judiciary Committee has said. You can go on their website, house.judiciary.gov. You can also go on house.oversight.gov to learn about the massive financial scandals associated with President Biden and his son Hunter right now, and indeed more than 5 members of the Biden family. I think it's 9, but I'm just going to say more than 5 to make sure I'm 100% safe. Have taken more than many millions of dollars from America's most deadly foreign competitors, namely China, right? Not to even mention Ukraine, but there's a lot of information there as well. So I just encourage you to go to the congressional websites, .gov websites, and read about this information. And alternatively, if that's a pain in the butt, you can just go on my channel, X-Ray America, and you can go in the shorts, and you can go in the videos, and you can just see little snippets from C-SPAN, okay? So here we go, 1688. We're going way back. We're going to 1688. The English Glorious Revolution happened because of the writings in part of John Locke. And John Locke wrote about, in his treatises of government, he wrote about how the rulers of a land only rule by the consent of the governed. And once that social contract is violated and the rulers no longer have the consent of those who they rule, it's fair and just and appropriate to put new leaders in charge. And that's what England did. They actually killed their king, and they put a very young King George II on the throne, who was a puppet, right? So very strong parliament, very weak king. King George II was only in his 20s during the American Revolution. You know, old King George, right, and all this. He was only in his 20s. And that's because the parliament just killed the older king for messing with the rights. And they put this new king in, King George II, as a puppet. So we don't know anything about that, right? Una muñeca, we don't know anything about it. So that was 1688, the English Glorious Revolutions. The writings of John Locke put it into context. And indeed, the Americans, probably a good time. I just said indeed. If you guys watched the last live stream, this is a good time for me to mention safety, okay? I need you to stop playing the drinking game. Some of you have told me that I said the word indeed too many times in my last live stream, and I'm really gonna try to be conscious about that today for y'all. But people were taking a drink every time I said the word indeed, and indeed they were hammered by, you know, like the 10th minute probably. So be careful with that, right? Alcoholism is a serious thing. We don't want to encourage any of that. We don't want anybody to be playing drinking games. This is serious information that we want to get out to you in a fun, easy to digest, sticky way. Okay, so indeed, oh shoot, everybody, one more. All right, one more. Indeed, they killed their king, right? And so Parliament was very strong. King George II was in his 20s. He was very weak. And we were really negotiating with Parliament as colonists here. My family was here during this time. I know Sylvia's family was here. Our moderator, Silly for Him, which means silly for Christ, right? Sylvia, Silly, has 7 ancestors who served in the American Revolution. So big shout out to all of our moderators, especially Sylvia, and to the patriotic service of their family members, right? So strong parliament, a weak king, negotiating with the colonial leaders, and the 7 Years' War had just happened. The 7 Years' War occurred between England and France. And this is significant because England now had a massive war debt to the tune of 146 million pounds. 146 million pounds in debt from the war against France. And so England's biggest budget to that point had only been 8 million pounds. Now they've got a 146 million pound war debt. You know what I mean? They got this new colony to deal with, which is expensive, okay? And so they needed to make some money. The interest alone, the interest on the war debt was 8 million, or it was 5 million pounds. England's biggest budget to that point was 5 million. The total war debt was 146 million pounds. So England had to make some of that money back. They figured the easiest way to make that money back was to tax their new colony, right? So they tax us, the colonists here, in what has become the United States. And the taxes that they decided to pass were the Navigation Acts. Those were the first taxes. So Sylvia, as we're going here, please put extra color in the chat. I know we're going to look up towards Parker's Revenge, and we'll talk about your ancestor who led that engagement for the second engagement against the British, technically. We're going to talk about Parker's Revenge and Sylvia's ancestor. But as I'm working my way up through it, sweating in front of these service members here at the National Harbor, as I'm sweating out here for y'all, I want to get the message across, okay? I want you to hear it, and I want you to see it here in a beautiful patriotic area. So more to come. The problem with the Navigation Acts is related to the notion of salutary neglect. And salutary neglect is essentially when one group just blindly looks to the side and lets another group do something that they sort of need to do to get by. In this instance, Professor Stoller says that that was smuggling. He said the colonies couldn't really get by if they're getting taxed on everything that comes into the colonies. You know what I mean? They're going to go broke. They're not going to be able to pay for it. So smuggling was just a way of life. Now with the Navigation Acts, the English have said, no more smuggling. We're taxing all the goods coming from England. And not only that, but we're going to send the Navy to blockade your harbors. And whenever you try to bring a boat in, we're going to pull you over and we're going to search you to look for something to tax. Let me ask you this, Patriots, and put it in the chat if you can figure it out while I'm asking. Put it in the chat for me. Which amendment now to the Constitution of the United States of America protects against illegal search and seizure? Illegal search and seizure. Can anybody put in the chat which amendment that is? So at the time, that amendment didn't exist, Constitution didn't exist. England is taxing every good that's coming into the United States with the Navigation Act. Not only that, the Navy is raiding ships, just raiding ships to find things to tax. And if someone tried to bring something in without declaring it, they would be tried in an admiralty court. They didn't have the Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial by a jury of their peers. So I see some little chats popping up. I hope you figured it out by now. The Fourth Amendment protects us against illegal search and seizure here in the United States today, right? Unless you're in Washington, D.C. with a turbo diesel truck, as you've seen on other live channels, right? All right, here we go. Well, I got my hair cut for this hot day out here, working for y'all in the sun, working for the Patriots. I hope you appreciate this. All right. The concept of salutary neglect, it was allowing smuggling. Now the smuggling is off. Now there are military trials. Fourth Amendment and Sixth Amendment weren't around, so the colonists were getting screwed pretty hard on this, and they couldn't even, just get by, basically get by. Then the Stamp Act comes down from England, and the Stamp Act taxes all public documents like books and newspapers, right? So all public documents are taxed, and that also allows the government of England to read every document that they're taxing. They get, oh, you want to publish this? Let me see it. Okay, now I know who you are and what you're saying. Pay me a tax. All right, there you go. Now you can tell your buddies. So that was a Stamp Act, and this really pissed off the colonists. A lot of people don't know what I'm about to tell you. The Stamp Act was what induced the colonists to come together for the first time and act as one cohesive unit. It wasn't the First Continental Congress. It was the Stamp Act Congress. And the Stamp Act Congress came to be when colonists were like fighting each other and banishing people for having a different perspective. If you think about it, how did Rhode Island get started as a colony? Can anybody tell me the name of the guy who got kicked out of Massachusetts for having differing political views? Does anyone remember? What's his name, Patriots? Put it in the chat if you know. I'll say it in a couple of minutes. I'm sorry I can't see the chat right now. I will go in the shade once we finish this part of the history lesson and before we interview random citizens about what they think, okay? So the Stamp Act is taxing all public documents. It's the first time the colonists come together. Roger Williams was banished from Massachusetts for having a differing political view. And once he was banished from Massachusetts, he went and started Rhode Island. And so instead of banishing each other, now they're coming together and they're saying, we've got to figure something out. This is crazy. After the Stamp Act, the Townshend Act happens. And you can remember it by thinking Townshend. So the towns send the goods from England, and the English good is now taxed at a higher rate. 1767. This is in 1767. The Townshend Act taxed all incoming British goods. And tell me what you think happened right now. Put it in the chat. There's already been the Navigation Act where they're getting pulled over and searched without any rights. They don't have a jury trial anymore. Now all their public documents are being taxed. They can't even speak to each other. They're starting to get a little bit frustrated. What do you think Americans did when the English did this to the colonists here in America? One guess. What do you think they did? they started killing people. That's right, massive violence. So not only was there massive violence where colonists were killing English soldiers, but there was massive violence between the colonies, which created the first civil wars in America. They were fought in the 1760s after the Stamp Act, when colonists were trying to figure out, Stamp Act Congress, you know, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about this oppression, okay? The Townshend Act is in 1767. It's taxing all incoming goods. Those are the first civil wars in the United States of America. Hydration break. Okay, now we're hydrating. That's important. You can work in any conditions as long as you take care of your physiology, right? So I'm hacking my hydration right here. I'll probably be sweating a little bit, but hey, it's real. It's live. You know what I mean? I'm not in an air-conditioned studio with an editor behind me telling me which political perspective to tell you. Just bringing you the truth. Americans here on X-Ray America, and I hope you like it. And I hope you'll take a minute to like, share, and subscribe. As a censored channel, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has talked about being censored. He was the first person censored by the Biden administration. And now all the emails are out, all the evidence is out, and we can read it. We know, according to Judge Terry Doughty, federal Judge Doughty, that the Biden administration was working with academics at Stanford and at University of Washington to monitor the internet and to delete comments from the internet so people wouldn't hear certain perspectives, which is reported in the Twitter files and in direct violation to our First Amendment rights to free speech, which we're exercising here today peacefully and non-violently to educate people, heal some of the divide, and bring us closer together from a common position, right? Our common history together as Americans. So right now the population is segmented into 4 groups in my lecture, and indeed today in our reality. You could probably draw some connections, okay? Loyalists to the crown. People who say President Biden is the best in the world, he can't do anything wrong, regardless of taking millions of dollars from foreign governments for access, according to the House Oversight Committee, his son smoking crack cocaine on video while driving through Virginia neighborhoods, and his wife dumping a handgun in a trash can across from a school and nobody being arrested, right? And the president going to federal agents and then sending them with their guns into social media companies to suppress the free speech of not only his political rivals, who he still refuses to debate, but also conservative voices, right? So the loyalists are people who just say, regardless of all that, I still like this guy. And let's break that down. Why did anybody say that? Why in the world would they say that, right? They must be getting something that they don't think they can get otherwise, and so therefore they support that perspective. Or they're just utterly unwilling to look at evidence, which has been presented by the House Oversight Committee and the House Judiciary Committee. So that's oversight.house.gov and judiciary.house.gov. And that's what we're talking about here on X-Ray America today. So check it out. It's congressional evidence. You can't argue with what the leaders of Congress are shouting with a full throat and what a federal judge has said to be true. The loyalists, however, refuse to engage with the notion. And I actually went to a farmer's market and I saw a little Democrat booth, and they were like, hey, we're supporting Democratic candidates. And I went over and said, hey, I'm over here in good faith. I was just wondering, how can I possibly trust or vote for any Democrat based on what the president has been doing with the federal government according to the U.S. Congress, the Judiciary Committee and the Oversight Committee? Should I, you know, how do I trust your candidates? Pitch me. And the woman goes, that's not true. And I said, well, it's certainly true. You know, it's certainly true that millions of dollars have been exchanged. There are financial records, and Congressman Comer talks all about it. It's certainly true that the president's son, you know, was buying and using crack cocaine while your tax dollars were paying the Secret Service to sit in the bushes with sniper rifles and guard the deal and guard the crack use. You paid for that protection. I don't know if your son would still be free, right? The Secret Service would probably tell on your son and they would go to jail. But Hunter Biden is free. And she goes, the White House, the president is not a crack dealer. And I said, well, I never said that. I never said that the president was a crack dealer at all. I said, according to his own book, the president's son is a crackhead. He just raised a crackhead and cocaine was found in his house. That's all I'm saying. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Those are the loyalists. People who you just present information to and they refuse to look at it or believe it because they're making money off of the scam, right? They're making money off of the immoral and illegal behavior, or just as an American, they would say, yeah, this is grossly inappropriate. We need to do something about it. And that's what you've seen the Department of Justice do by throwing out the Hunter Biden deal. There was a deal that was going to let Hunter Biden off from his tax and gun crimes, not to mention his crack cocaine crimes, but his tax crimes and his drug crimes. And the judge threw it out. The judge had some questions. It was like, hey, are you telling me you're not going to pursue these as felonies like you have to by law? Are you telling me that you're not, right, going to pursue the gun charge? And so the prosecutors were like, oh yeah, crap, maybe we should do that. And the way the deal was structured, the judge wasn't even going to have a say in the plea agreement. So the Department of Justice and the judge came down on Hunter Biden, and now he has 30 days to figure out what he's going to do, and he's facing a year in jail and $25,000 for each charge. And that was in the Wall Street Journal this morning. So the government corrected the record in the Wall Street Journal this morning, and the Wall Street Journal printed a correction related to this story. 1 year in prison and $25,000 in fines for each of his charges. And we certainly hope that he's convicted on all charges, right, for his gross and flagrant, not only violation of American law, but American norms and American expectations, right? And you see the same thing happen with the president, which has been discussed by the House Judiciary Committee and the House Oversight Committee, house.oversight.gov, house.judiciary.gov. We're talking Congressman Jordan and Congressman Comer as the committee chairman for those, okay? So after the Townsend Act, we have the loyalists, and today we have loyalists who refuse to look at true information and are making money off of the scam and want to perpetuate it. Then we have neutrals, people who are kind of in the middle, trying to figure out what's going on both sides, and then trying to make an intelligent decision from there. Moderates who are like, yeah, I think there's definitely a problem, but I know that they're going to come down on me hard if I say anything. Let me just see if it gets better for a little while. Let me wait and see. These are the moderates. And then you have the radicals, and the radicals are the people who are driving the action, right? Driving the action to change policy. So at this time, England sends a gentleman named Lord North in, and Lord North comes in and he's like, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, you know what I mean? And Lord North, he talked just like this. He said, here's what we're gonna do. Yous guys get together over there, we're gonna get together over here, I'm gonna make you the deal. And that's how British royalty, Admiralty talks. Indeed, for the blood of your first 5 children, I'll give you freedom, or whatever. So Lord North comes in and he gets rid of all those taxes. He says, I'm gonna do you a favor, colonists. I'm gonna roll back all the damn taxes, all right? You just need to chill out for me a little bit. And hey ladies, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing great, thank you. And so Lord North comes in and he rolls back all the taxes except for a 1 penny tax on tea. And does anybody know what happened? The British East India Tea Company, right? The Dutch are also, right? A lot of people are trying to trade in tea. Tea is the plant of the day, right? Tea and tobacco. Lord North comes in, he says 1 penny tax on tea, which is the Tea Act, which is 1773. And what happened? Put it in the chat, y'all. What happened? What kind of party happened in Boston? That's right, the Boston Tea Party happens. I hope somebody put it there when I said that's right, or maybe it was the exact moment. The Boston Tea Party occurs. They throw all the tea into the harbor. They say, we're Englishmen who want our rights as Englishmen. You've continued to tax us without representation. You've had Admiralty courts. You've been raiding our boats to find things to tax. You're taxing our documents. You're trying to pay down your debt for the 7 Years' War, which is $146 million. A lot of money. A lot of money, and they're trying to pay it down. England's trying to pay it down by taxing the colonists. Colonists are getting pissed. They've already had kinetic fights. They've already had the Stamp Act Congress. Now they've had the Boston Tea Party. And so what do you think England does? Do you think they bow down and say, good enough, we're beat? No way. England loses their shit. They passed a series of acts called the Coercive Acts, right? The Coercive Acts, intolerable acts. which revoked the Massachusetts colonial charter. Then it said that Boston Harbor is completely closed until you pay back all the money for the tea. So Boston Harbor was completely closed down and blockaded by the British. Then the king said, from now on, I'm gonna pick who's on the Massachusetts Council. All right, whoever's on the Massachusetts Council, I'm gonna pick them. That way they make better decisions for me. And of course, this infuriated the colonists who wanted equal representation. They wanted a say in how they are governed. And this is something we saw play out in Virginia when parents, right, school board parents were being reported to the FBI for asking for a say in their children's education against critical race theory. And there's a video on X-Ray America that shows Congressman Jordan talking about how, quote, a dedicated snitch line was set up by the Biden administration so conservative and Catholic parents who were going in to talk at school board meetings could be designated as terrorists and put on watch lists. And indeed, one of these gentlemen in Richmond, Virginia, there was a whole task force against Catholics. This gentleman was arrested with multiple agents in front of his children when he had already said, I'm willing to turn myself in. So the federal government set up snitch lines against mothers and against Catholics for trying to have a say in their education. And in Virginia, we saw Governor McAuliffe get thrown out of office because he refused to listen to his constituents. His constituents said, hey, we want a say in our children's education. He said, screw you, I'm gonna shove a government agenda down their throat from a very young age forward. And the voters said, you're fired. You know, that goes right back to John Locke. Rulers only rule by the consent of the government, rulers only rule by the consent of the governed. And that's John Locke prior to the 1688 English Glorious Revolution. All right, a little bit more hydration, stand by. Everybody, today's episode is brought to you by the U.S. School of Survival Field Manual, which you can find on Amazon for $17.76. Please check it out, all right? Please check out the other videos and the shorts on this channel if you're interested in UAPs or UFOs. Congress declared that they're real. There's real data. That's on C-SPAN on my channel. You can check that out. If you're interested in the Hunter Biden laptop contents, Representative Stefanik outlines those. That's on C-SPAN. It's on my channel. If you're interested in hearing about how the Department of Justice was weaponized, you can go on and listen to Congressman Jordan talk. It's on C-SPAN. It's on X-Ray America. The truth is coming out in Congress, so we need to get it out here in the underground, right? The grassroots movements as well. And that's the purpose of this channel. Cheers. All right. So, hey, Sylvia, get ready because we're moving towards Parker's Revenge of Lexington and Concord, right? We're moving towards what your ancestor did for America so well. All right. So Lord North is here. He tries to make the deal. He does a 1 penny tax on tea. The colonists lose their shit. We throw all the tea in the harbor. A bunch of Englishmen die. A bunch of colonists start fighting each other regarding the direction of what will become America. What will we do? Loyalists, neutrals, moderates, and radicals are all competing for social power, all right? At this time, the First Continental Congress happens, and this is in 1774. The moderates are in control. So the American perspective at the time, the colonial perspective is, hey, we don't want to fight. Let's try to work this out. We're Englishmen who want our rights as Englishmen. And England had continuously levied additional taxes to pay for their $146 million war debt. And the taxes were Navigation Act, Stamp Act, Townshend Act, Tea Act, Intolerable Acts, all right, or Coercive Acts, AKA, all right. This leads England to send General Gage. They say, hey, we've got a problem. The best way to deal with the problem is to use the broken windows theory of crime control, which was obviously discussed in the 1900s here in the United States in peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles. But the crime control theory, the broken windows theory says you hammer any little thing. Oh, you're jaywalking? Jail for 10 years, right? Oh, you're out of uniform? Jail for 10 years, whatever it is. That's hyperbole, right? That's over-speech, but the broken windows theory means you crush any little type of crime to try to stop any more crime from breaking up. It's commonly studied in any public policy course or any law enforcement or homeland security course today. You can Google the broken windows theory. And I think it came out of like the riots in LA. But anyway, check me on that. General Gage comes over from England. And this guy, he's like, hey, crime control, I'm gonna drop the hammer on you guys. He arrests John Hancock, Mr. Big Signature, you know, ancestor of Herbie Hancock. We don't know, maybe. But John Hancock gets arrested. Boom, Sam Adams gets arrested by General Gage, and the colonists lose their shit. There's massive violence again. People start dying in the street. There's massive violence once their buddies John Hancock and Sam Adams get arrested by General Gage, who sent from England to drop the hammer on the colonists using what became known as the broken windows theory. All right, after this, Lexington and Concord in April of 1775, the war is on. And then Sylvia, please put it in the chat. I'm sure you've been doing it, but if you could maybe put some notes regarding Parker's revenge and your ancestor John Parker, that honorable gentleman in April of 1775 as well, the second big formal engagement, right, which happened right before the United States Army was founded in June of 1775. So the Army's founded in June. Lexington and Concord and Parker's revenge are happening in 1775 in April. Please go into the live chat and read from our moderator Sylvia, who's putting additional information about the American Revolution and what happened from a policy perspective and then a citizen response perspective leading up to the foundation of our country. Army is founded in 1775, and there's our soldier right there in the middle, right? Then, now America knew we were kind of going to war. The colonists knew we were going to war, but they had a problem because they did not yet have a Marine Corps. And you never want to go to war without the Marine Corps. America's learned this lesson many times. So at 10 November 1775, Captain Samuel Nichols and Captain Robert Mullen go out and they recruit 2 battalions of Marines at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They go to a bar and they recruit 2 battalions of Marines after a congressional order. And Captain Samuel Nichols was the first commandant of the Marine Corps. Captain Robert Mullen is the first Marine Corps recruiter, all right? And so you see the Marines over here between the Army and the Navy, created 10 November 1775. The Army was created. All right, we're doing okay. I think I lost you all. It got a little bit too hot, so I don't know where I lost you, Mark. Yeah, buddy, I'm back. It's very warm out here, as y'all can see, so definitely lost you. Definitely have some folks coming to hang out to see what's going on. But I'm sorry I lost you guys. I hope you were able to hear it. Where did I lose you? Where were we in history? I was at Parker's Revenge. All right, cool. All right, 10-4. So I'm sorry for that, folks. I lost you for a couple of minutes because it's very hot out here. My phone just said I quit. My phone said, I don't care how much technology is in me, I quit. So we're at Parker's Revenge. That's the second major conflict of the Civil War. It happened after Lexington and Concord, right? Do y'all remember? We're gonna go around and talk to some people about this stuff here in a minute, but I wanna make sure that you have the history first, okay? So after the Second Continental Congress, that's when George Washington comes in his Army uniform, in his Virginia militia uniform, and George Washington is essentially saying to the other colonists and colonies, hey, I'm ready to throw down, I came in uniform, I'm ready to fight, you guys need to get ready to fight too, it's about to get serious, okay? And that was in the spring of 1775. After that, Congress decides to create the United States Army in June 1775 and the United States Marine Corps in November 1775. So that's when the Army and the Marine Corps were founded. It was after the Second Continental Congress, which occurred after Lexington and Concord and after Parker's Revenge. Okay? I hope you're with me. So I know we're going over a lot of history, folks, but it's so important. This is how the United States came to be a country, right? This is why our constitutional rights are so important, right? We were seeing with the Navigation Acts that the colonists were just being stopped at random and searched at random to find items to tax the colonists for. And Now we have the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America to protect us against that, right? Colonists were being tried on ships in Admiralty Court, and now we have the Sixth Amendment. So I sure am interested in hearing anything that y'all might have to say. And let me try to like drop this down a little bit while our new buddies come in and hang out with us. All right, cool. Oh, I caught you. I caught you, don't worry. I took you out of the case so you could try to cool down. And this is the Target, you know, the big box retailer Target. This is their little, I'm zoomed in on my nasty face, sorry. This is their tripod, and their tripod sucks compared to the Walmart one. All right, we'll try one more time. Here we go. Cool. So, Parker's Revenge happens. Then the Second Continental Congress, where we see George Washington come in uniform. Then the Army is founded. Then the Marine Corps is founded. And now America can go to war. Now we're ready to fight, right? The ports had already been thrown open in January 1776. So this is how the United States came to be a country. It came about because of aggressive taxation from England. And the reason that England was taxing the colonies so aggressively is because England had just fought the 7 Years' War against France. So they had 146 million pounds in debt. 146 million pounds. England's biggest budget ever was only 8 million pounds before the war. And the interest on that war debt was 5 million pounds. So a tremendous, amount of money that England owed. And that's what, hey, how are y'all doing?
Doing great.
Cool. So England owed a bunch of money. England needed to make up the money really quickly. So England decided to tax the colonies and to tax them super aggressively, and then to revoke the charter of Massachusetts as a colony, and then to say, you know what, maybe we'll let you be a colony, but we're going to pick everybody who sits on your council. And this was a young and weak King George II because, they just killed their king in England. The Glorious Revolution of 1688, based on the writings of John Locke, they just killed their king. Parliament was strong. That's what we were negotiating with. So I hope that makes sense to you. I took you from the Navigation Acts all the way to the Stamp Act, to the Townshend Acts, to the Tea Acts, to the Intolerable and Coercive Acts. And that's what led to the fight that created the United States of America, the fighting. And it wasn't just like all of a sudden there's a fight. There were fights the whole time. As each of these taxes, these new tax laws were implemented, the citizens had to reckon with themselves and say, are we okay with this or are we not okay with this? And therefore, what can we do, right? What can we do to try to make it better in our new reality that we're all building here together in good faith? How can we make it better? And that's what the colonists were saying. Again, this comes from Professor Mark Stoller, who's a professor emeritus of history, and he sits on the board of advisors to the United States military on history as well, out of the University of Vermont, where he's a professor emeritus. I encourage you to Google A Skeptic's Guide to American History. It's wonderful. It's fascinating. He's a really smart guy, and I think you'll like it. A really smart gentleman. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. We've seen some things happening around the country that have shown that Americans today might be in a difficult position because they don't have access to all of their constitutional rights, specifically the First Amendment right to free speech, which is the cornerstone of all of our constitutional rights. Without that First Amendment right to free speech, you can't figure out, right? You can't say, hey, I'm not getting my right to a speedy trial, because you get put in jail for saying that. You can't say, hey, you can't have soldiers in my house. No, because you can't say it. So the right to free speech is the cornerstone on which the rest of our constitutional rights are built, right? This comes from the writings of John Locke, which influenced the Glorious Revolution of 1688 in England. But our revolution was also influenced by the writings of Thomas Paine, right? Common Sense. Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense. It was published in 1776, and that also had a tremendous influence on the perspective of the colonists, okay? So if you're like, who are the writers who most influenced the English and then American revolutions, you would say John Locke and Thomas Paine. Okay, John Locke and Thomas Paine. All right, does that make sense to you? Who are the people that England sent over to try to negotiate or crush the colonies? Well, first it was Lord North who tried to do a negotiation and say, well, let me take away all these taxes, except for a 1 penny tax on tea, which still showed that they had some say, and the colonists said, forget about it. They threw all the tea in the harbor, Boston Tea Party happens. After that, General Gage comes over. He was the other guy, General Gage from England, and General Gage wants to show that England is super strong. They use what becomes known as the broken windows theory to crime control, which is when you hammer down any little crime to try to stop anyone else from doing a crime. And we've certainly seen that in the United States, not just in California, right? But across the United States, and specifically in Washington, D.C., right? So crime control, broken windows theory is being used, although it wasn't called that until the 1900s in peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles coming out of the United States of America, all right? And this guy, Lord North, he took a really tough approach to the colonists, and the colonists responded by killing Englishmen. Okay, they came down too hard on the colonists. The colonists said, "There's nothing else we can do. We're trying to talk to you as gentlemen. We're trying to go to a Congress and present you with information. You're taking away the charters of our colonies. You know, you're putting people on the councils of our own leadership boards. And we're losing our say in our own governance, and we can't afford to live here anymore." And these are things that a lot of Americans are saying now. And I'm certainly not trying to whip anyone up into a revolution. I'm trying to get you to become aware and vote. And I want to educate you to the history so you can understand that this is not a new thing in this land. This is not a new thing. You know what I mean? So, and this is our common history. And if we could all learn about and agree to and celebrate our common history, perhaps that will bring us closer together as Americans here in the United States of America, and certainly the way that Americans look or sound, right, or what we might say or how we might think is changing and evolving, as in every country in the world. And hey, how are you, man? Especially every country that's been in a position of leadership in the world. It's a natural progression, right? So we should be aware of that, okay? Sylvia, I hope you're able to put some really good information about Parker's Revenge, your ancestor, into the chat, right? Tremendously important. I hope you Patriots will go back and look at this, watch this video, and learn about the history of the revolution of the United States of America and why it came to occur. According to Professor Stoller, it came to occur because Englishmen were begging for their rights as Englishmen, then yelling for their rights as Englishmen, then demanding their rights as Englishmen, and then they began to take political action until they were able to put themselves in a more advantaged and less disadvantaged position. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So, good time for me to check in with the chat. I'm gonna check in with the chat and say hello to y'all. All right, cool. Let me see who's in here. And I'm sorry, I know this video is probably gonna be like in with us talking back here at the National Harbor, and then it'll probably cut out for a while when my phone overheated. And then I brought y'all back in the shade, so it'll probably be like out, in, out. And in a minute, we're gonna go around and try to talk to some people and just ask them what they think about freedom in the United States and about some of the revelations that have come out of the House Judiciary Committee and the House Oversight Committee. So if you haven't gone on their websites, you know, I really want to encourage you to do that. And right now, I'm just gonna take a moment to check in with the chat because, you know, you guys, you men and women, you patriots, sorry, I'm all sweaty and nasty. It's a hot day, patriots. I'm out here in the sun trying to make it work for you because I care about freedom. We're in the furnace of freedom today. All right, who's in the chat? Who's here? Kimberly, all right. Kimberly says, I wish you would have been my teacher in high school. Thanks, yeah. I would have probably given you detention if you weren't respectful. No, I'm just kidding. Oki says hi. Darlene says hello, good. Belinda's in the chat. Exercise free speech. Belinda says, educate the liberal youth about our history. Yeah, really good. Mark retracted a message, but he's in the chat. All right, there's proof. It looks like Hightower is in here. Hello, Mr. Hightower. Good, and Mark has posted a link. Good. Sylvia's in here. Jackie's in here. Jackie has a wrench. Awesome, good. Gary's in here. Gary, nice to see you, buddy. I'm sorry for for the issues related to the iPhone. Doing the best that we can here, but with the best technology in the world, sometimes we're still unable to do what we're trying to accomplish sometimes. So it's just a little bit hot right here down by the National Harbor. We're going to go in and we're going to swim back to Virginia in just a few minutes. We've got the waterproof feature for the phone, so we're just going to try to stay motivated, keep everybody else motivated, go for a nice relaxing swim. All right, good to go. And this is a beautiful area. I finally found some shade, so my camera's not quite so upset. And in a few minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we're going to talk to some citizens about what we've been seeing coming out of the House Judiciary Committee and the House Oversight Committee. And we're going to see what Americans think about that, if they think it's really happening, one, or if they think that the Congress is lying to us. And then, like, what they think about it. Is this okay, and what do we do? How's it going? Is it okay, and what do we do about it, right? So I think the biggest issues that we're seeing are coming out of the House Oversight Committee, and they're alleging financial crimes against the president and multiple members of his family. They're saying that Hunter Biden and President Biden went to foreign adversaries, very deadly countries, right, like China and Russia and Ukraine, and ended up taking millions of dollars in bribes for access to their administration. And this is according to the US Congress, all right? House.oversight.gov. The Oversight Committee, house.oversight.gov. So important to go and look at and to read about. You're gonna read a letter from Congressman Comer and his committee, which lays bare the financial crimes and immorality of the President of the United States. In one instance, and you guys have probably seen this in the other videos on X-Ray America, you can just go on X-Ray America and you can look at these videos. And it's not just the social stuff. It's not like the laptop, and it's not the other laptop that Russia stole from him and took back to Russia and got a bunch of intel off of. And it's not that Hunter Biden crashed 2 rental cars while driving high on crack cocaine. And it doesn't have anything to do with Hunter Biden losing his dead brother's attorney general badge. And it doesn't have anything to do with the president stealing valor and saying that his other son, Bo, died in Iraq when he died in America of cancer. He said that multiple times, stealing valor from American veterans like my friends who gave their lives for our freedom, right? So it's not about any of that. It's about the financial crimes of his family. When multiple members of his family went and leaned on people in foreign governments and here in the United States and made them pay money for access to the administration, and that's as corrupt as it gets. There's plenty of financial evidence for you, and I'm not even talking about the billions of dollars that President Biden has sent to Iran for you tell me why, right? More than $2 billion. And there was talk last month of $17 billion going to Iran on Fox News. And there are 4 hostages there right now. 3 are Americans, 1 is a German who lived in California. And we say we don't pay for hostages, but $2 million just went to Iran. And what do we get back from Iran? What do we get from them for $2 billion? What do we get? Put it in the chat. What does America get from Iran? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, RFK dropped this in Congress when he was under oath. He said, and I don't think that we should be sending the $2 billion to Iran. And so I said, what do you mean? And I started to do some research. And I found out that this is not the first time the United States has sent money to Iran. So I'm just going to cite my sources for you real quick, because I know how y'all are about that. How's this? Is that good for sources? Citing my sources right there for you, and I'll say it verbally. The first source is Biden administration under fire for Iran nuke and hostage deal, Fox News, June 8th, 2023. The next source is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fires back at Stacey Plaskett, Forbes breaking news published to YouTube 7/20/2023. And the last article will be 5 times the Obama administration insisted cash was the only way to pay Iran. foreignaffairs.house.gov 9/1916. So my point is, when President Obama was in charge and President Biden was then his vice president, right? We sent billions of dollars to Iran in cash and electronically. Those payments were sent in July 2015. An $848,000 payment was sent to Iran from the United States of America. $848,000 in July 2015. Then, about $3 billion over the course of 2016, and three payments we're going to reference. $9 million was wired to Iran in April 2016. $1.7 billion was sent in cash on a pallet on a dang airplane to Iran in August 2016. $1.7 billion in cash to those sandy bastards for nothing. For nothing, right? We're going to talk about what Iran did with the money in a minute, and you're probably like, oh, well, we had to try to dial back their nuclear program, their enrichment of weapons-grade uranium, their heavy water, and that's crap, okay? Iran took our money in 2015 and 2016, and they developed in-house a hypersonic ballistic missile that they say can defeat Israel's Iron Dome and the defenses of the United States of America. So President Biden decides he's going to send them more than $3 billion, several $billion. They create a hypersonic ballistic missile program, and now we're giving them more billions of dollars. So before we talk about this, and we're going to talk about it today, because Marines were sent as a diversion while the cash payments are going out, and I Googled this before, and there were no articles related to cash payments to Iran. I talked about it on another channel, and then an old article popped up. So you can see a recent multi-billion-dollar cash payment in foreign currency went to Iran already. But as of last month, it was $17 billion that we were talking. Now it was only like $2 to $4 billion that got sent. But you tell me what we get from Iran, and is it worth paying Iran any money at all, ever? And if so, why? Put it in the chat, please. Please, please, please. Just take a quick second and put it in the chat. The whole purpose of this channel, guys, is to men and women, is to harness and capture primary source intelligence from the citizens of the nation, on the streets of the nation, and in your homes. So when you use your First Amendment right to put this in the chat, you're telling your elected and appointed officials about your expectations. No one can say they weren't on notice when you notify them. All right, so let's talk about more payments. We're not done yet. $848,000 Obama sent in July 2015 to Iran. And then he sent $1.7 billion in cash in August 2016. He sent $9 million via wire transfer in April 2016. And then $400 million in European currency was sent in January 2016. This happened to be the same day that 4 U.S. hostages were released, ironically enough. So the same day that $400 million in European currency gets sent to Iran, hostages get released. Yet our public policy is that we don't pay for hostages to be released, because of course that leads to more hostages being taken internationally, because foreign governments and terrorist groups have the expectation that we're going to pay it out, you know. But it's tricky because these are human beings who have served the United States, who are now captured by a foreign government. And what are you going to do? You're going to leave them? You're not going to leave them. So we've either got to take them back militarily, or we have to negotiate for them to come back through the Department of State and other channels, right? And both Republican and Democrat Departments of State have declared that Iran is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism. So why would we send them billions of dollars if they're the world's leading sponsor of terrorism? Put it in the chat. What does the United States get by paying another multi-billion-dollar cash payment to Iran now? Last time we sent them multiple billions of dollars in cash, they created a hypersonic ballistic missile program, which they say can kill us in America and our allies in Israel. And you're going to give them more money. That's one way to do it. There must be a lot going on behind the scenes that none of us know about. So when we're thinking about any kind of policy alternative and any governments who are kind of squaring off against each other, in this case the United States and Iran, it's important that we think about what each stakeholder and what each policy actor wants to accomplish through the negotiations. And negotiations can be verbal discussions, they can be written discussions, or they can be armed conflict, right? But we're working out policy however you look at it. And I would say that America is like, hey, you guys need to get rid of or stop building up the enriched uranium. And Iran's like, okay, we're not going to do any more enriched uranium. And they're cranking it out over here as fast as they possibly can. You know, they're cranking it out. And we're like, okay, you guys don't do any more hypersonic ballistic missiles programs. And they're like, okay, we won't do that anymore. We promise, give us the money. And they're just cranking out ballistic missiles while they talk trash on us. And then we're probably like, hey, you guys need to stop attacking oil tankers, right? In the Gulf, stop attacking oil tankers because we need that oil. And they're like, okay, we're not gonna do it, go attack. You know, that's what they're doing. And we're sending them more money. So you tell me why America should pay. If I say Iran or Iran or whatever, it's all the same sandy country to me, you know, mountains and sand, right? They have some nice mountains outside of Tehran, from what I've heard. I've never been there, right? All right, anyway. The United States probably wants Iran to chill out, to maybe give us some oil, to maybe stop attacking the oil tankers, to stop taking Navy personnel prisoner when they wear white socks. And you can just Google like Navy prisoner white socks Iran and see how that happened. That was horribly shameful, and now we're giving them money. So what? So they don't do it again? Why don't we give them the Pentagon? Give them the back half of the Pentagon and see how they like that. You know, I know we need to work with our international allies and through diplomatic channels, especially when the lives of American citizens as hostages are involved. But come on, wake up, right? Wake up. What does Iran want in the deal? Iran wants to be dominant to the United States of America from a position, a social position, and a financial position. And so they're squeezing us, right? They're squeezing us. Nobody pays anybody else billions of dollars unless they've got you by the balls or the ovaries. So what is it that Iran knows or has on us that's causing us to pay them billions of dollars every year? All right, I'm kind of sick of it. What does Iran want? They want to be dominant to us related to socially dominant, internationally perceived to be dominant, militarily dominant. They want to be financially dominant to us. They want sanctions relief. We've been hitting them with sanctions pretty hard, and they want relief. What else do they want? They want to destroy Israel. And we need to protect Israel, right? But they want to destroy it. And so these are things that we need to consider, right? What is Iran willing to do to get all of these things that they want? Well, how are we trying to deter them? By sending them money. Well, how did that work for Hunter? Did you deter him from being a crackhead by sending him more support and money and Secret Service protection and, you know, coverage so the Secret Service and the FBI don't arrest him so he's not charged? Did that make him better or did that make him worse? Did that make us worse or did that make us better? Right, things to, as a nation, things to talk about, okay? The 4 hostages, I'm going to name them right now in Iran. Siamak Namazi, who's an American-Iranian businessman. He's accused of collaborating with the foreign government. Release him. All right. Ahmad Shargi, American-Iranian businessman accused of espionage, spying for a foreign government, which is the United States. Release him right now. Okay. Murad Tabaz, who's an American-Iranian and British triple sit. He's the founder of the Persian Wildlife Heritage Foundation. Release him right now. Okay. And then finally, we're going to talk about Jamshid Sharmahad. And he's a German, but he lived in California for an extended period of time. And he was actually abducted in Dubai, right? This guy was forcefully abducted by Iranians in Dubai in 2020. They took him back, threw him in a prison cell. All right, they put him through a sham trial, and he's been convicted and sentenced to death. All right, so Jamshid Sharmahad is sentenced to death. We're calling you to release him now. You're certainly not going to get the next payment until you release the Americans and the German who are holding their Iran. And just little notes around the world on hostages and foreign governments. If you look at Niger, you'll see that Russia, or maybe on their own, but maybe Russia influenced the presidential guard to surround the president and take his ass prisoner, and he's still locked up. Some guy who calls himself a colonel major, which is the stupidest rank I've ever heard, should just make yourself a general instead of a colonel major, because major's like below lieutenant colonel, which is below colonel, but you're saying you're a major colonel, like a sergeant major. Just make yourself a general, buddy. What's wrong with you? Anyway, they've taken the leader hostage, and then we've got Brazil who's playing games with us. There's a prisoner in Brazil that needs to be extradited to the United States, so I encourage Brazil to get on their shit there. You know, they've already sold us out enough with their exports going to China instead of us, right? Sold us out to China pretty hard. We'd like to see Brazil come back around to the international community, right, and support fairness and democracy, okay? So, same with Niger, you know what I mean? And if you look at what happened in Niger, a Wall Street Journal talks about how that's probably like a bigger situation going on with Russia, right? There's some things happening in Africa. There's some things happening over in Eastern Europe. The United States has pushed really hard on Russia through Ukraine, right? Pushed hard on Russia in Eastern Europe. Now there's some fights going on in Syria where we have multiple advisors, and Russia also has like combat troops and mercenaries. But then we also have some situations going on where Russia's trying to fight back to what we're doing to them in Eastern Europe by taking over Africa. And, that's where this comes from. So the Russia problem is a little bit bigger than just Ukraine. I'm a bit against the war in Ukraine because I think that it's another forever war, however we want to look at it. When I think about my friends who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan and the shameful way that President Biden decided to leave Afghanistan and the complete and utter policy failure that occurred at that moment, right? When I think about those things, put in my hand what we got from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've got 46 dead friends, lots of dead friends and coworkers, but I don't know if we really got all like the treasure and right honor that maybe we thought we were going to get. I understand that there is like a Roman theory of keeping your battles on the outside of the empire so your enemies are busy and they can't come and attack you at home. I get that, but I haven't really been for the whole war in Ukraine. Screw Russia, right? Screw them. Not for Russia at all, And if it's just a chance to kill Russians, okay, but don't tell us about it, So there must have been more to what's going on in Ukraine. There's certainly some social leverage there. We know it to be a corrupt country because of the allegations of corruption from the House Oversight Committee. And that's house.oversight.gov. You could go in and read about what happened in Ukraine and the millions of dollars of payments, and then the political games that have happened, the impeachments, things like that. The bribes, the impeachments that have come out of the whole Ukraine thing. It's just been a mess for the United States, okay? But I'm starting to think, if that's where we've got to get it done, like if Russia's stepping to us really hard in Syria, they're stepping to us really hard in Africa, right? There's some push in South America, right? All Venezuela, Juan Guaido jokes aside, right? That's a thing. So maybe it just got to the point where we're like, hey, Ukraine's where it's got to go down because it's about to bubble up in 5 or 6 other spots, and we're best positioned to do it here, and we could probably sell it to the American people best if we do it here. So I get that might be part of it. I'm still not convinced, even though I'm seeing a lot of Marine Corps medics go over there and volunteer to serve on the front lines in Ukraine, and some have been killed. Some have been targeted by Russians and killed, like Peter, for going over to Ukraine. And trying to have an impact, trying to help the citizens, and trying to continue their mission of service. All right, so those are the hostages. We demand their release. I know that a lot of you are passionate about some prisoners in the United States of America as well. And I thought that it was a good exercise of free speech, a good use of your free speech to go on and talk about that in the last video, so people put some comments up. So, right, it's important to start to get messaging out to people who are asleep to a lot of this messaging here in the United States. And again, house.oversight.gov, house.judiciary.gov. It's going to break down the massive corruption for you, not just the social corruption, but the financial corruption, okay? And how the government, the federal government, was, according to Congress, the House Judiciary Committee, weaponized against its own citizens. A snitch line, according to Congressman Jordan, was set up for mothers to rat on each other at school board hearings. A task force was established in Richmond, Virginia to hunt Catholics and call them extremists and put them on watch lists. So mothers and Catholics were targeted by the Department of Justice. Furthermore, the House Judiciary Committee, and just go on X-Ray America and just watch the videos on X-Ray America. The House Judiciary Committee said that 61% of Democrats would have changed their vote if they knew everything in Hunter's laptop was true. And they've read out everything that was in Hunter's laptop in the halls of Congress. Then they said the FBI had it months beforehand and intentionally covered it up. Then they said 50 intelligence officers intentionally lied to you to throw the election. And you can see Director Mike Morrell go into Congress and he tells them, yes, I did this on purpose. And yes, I did this because I like President Biden and I wanted to get him votes. So I guess my question for America is, and I've voted both sides, what do you do? What do you do as an American when you can't access your First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment rights as an American? based on deliberate decisions by the people who you've elected to keep you free and safe. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talked about this under oath in Congress. He said that they showed the emails, the evidence. The Biden administration censored his biggest Democrat political rival on his first days in office. On his first days in office, he censored him. Federal Judge Terry Doughty, Doughty, stated that there's massive evidence, and he issued an injunction based on hundreds of pages of evidence, which said that the Biden administration was working with Stanford University and University of Washington to observe the internet and to go in and remove certain posts and comments that were not illegal, that were not threatening, were not harassing, and did not violate any terms of the neutral platform, but to change the way that Americans are capable of interacting with other Americans' free speech, because the speech was determined to be malinformation, not misinformation, but malinformation. And mal is a French word. It means bad, like a grand mal, seizure, or a malady. That means bad. So, right? What the heck, America? We got to wake up. And this is all from the U.S. Congress, right? House.judiciary.gov. Go on X-Ray America, go on my videos, go on my shorts, and you can watch the C-SPAN videos of how you're being represented. Thank God now there are congressmen, men and women of Congress, representatives, who are standing up to this gross injustice. Thank God for the federal judge, Terry Doughty, who's standing up against this gross injustice. And if you think that maybe this is crap, it's not true, go on X-Ray America, look at my shorts, and you can see the lawyer, Mr. Sauer, is the people's lawyer. We the people, he's our lawyer. And he's going in, he's a former attorney general of the state of Missouri. And he's in there arguing in front of Judge Doughty. And he's the guy who got the injunction. And he's interviewed by Congressman Stefanik from New York in the House Judiciary Committee. Go look at it. Go look at it. And you can just see the videos right there. All right? I see a comment here. This is definitely not the America that I grew up in. I agree. And I would argue that the rise of technology has forced some of our elected and appointed officials into positions where they have to make tough decisions. And I would argue they made really bad decisions, like they just read George Orwell and were like, hey, I know what to do. You know, I literally rented a home from a Space Force and Air Force and Raytheon colonel, retired colonel in Colorado Springs. And he had George Orwell's book, 1984, and it was more dog-eared than my Bible. It was, you know, more aggressively read, underlined, dog-eared than my Bible. And this guy had a fish bowl of challenge coins this big. Air Force, Space Force, Strategic Command, all this stuff. So he's going in there as the genius, working for Raytheon, saying, hey, I know what to do. And he just tells you what George Orwell said, now it's policy, and you wonder how it came to be. It's a shocking connection to make. It's a shocking connection to just see in real time, Americans, and that's why we have to be aware and awake. That's why we have to stand up. We have to use our peaceful and non-violent efforts to win the hearts and minds of others so we can enact a better change, right? So we can enact a better change. So we talked about what's going on in the United States, what's happened leading up to create the United States, now how some of those same rights are in peril by a new government who's not only issued a number of taxes without providing representation. I don't know if any of you have ever rented a car before, but if you rent the car, you might see multiple line items related to taxation. If you register your vehicle, you'll see more than 10 taxation line items. So we're certainly very taxed. Every public document is taxed. This was taxed. My newspaper's taxed. You want to go online and read, you know, New York Times, they give you like one article and then they tax you after that. So on the roads here in DC and Virginia, I'm shocked that the people put up with this crap. You have to pay a tax just to drive on the roads to go like 2 intersections, two exits. That doesn't happen out west. In the state of Colorado, there's one toll road. There's only one. But here you pay a tax everywhere you go, and it was that taxation. It was the Navigation Acts, the illegal search and seizure in the Admiralty courts, and it was the Stamp Act, and it was the Townshend Act and the Tea Act, which led to the American Revolution, the Intolerable Acts. It was massive taxation, and the Englishmen couldn't access their rights as Englishmen, and that's what led to America being founded as a country. Now that Americans' rights are in peril,
For years, people have just told us to shut up and then shadow banned us and then said we're crazy and you can't talk like this because you're crazy. You can't say this on YouTube. And then we see some of the most powerful congressmen in the land stand up and say the same phrases which were said on the stage of the People's Convoy. The same exact phrases are being said in Congress that caused many professionals, many good citizens and professionals to be shadow banned, put onto watch lists, to be illegally arrested, to have their equipment and possessions stolen and taken from them without warrants. We saw all this happen. And now if you go on the House Judiciary Committee or the House Oversight Committee, you can see that it's happening now. And so my question is, what are you going to do about it, America? Right? We know that Congressman Jordan and House Speaker McCarthy have started to talk about impeachment. And Mr. McCarthy, Congressman McCarthy, was talking about impeachment investigations, which are before the actual trial and the hearing. So doing investigations to see if there's enough evidence for impeachment. And so many people think that there is enough. Just would you be able to get the 2/3 supermajority in the Senate after you get the majority in Congress, right? Would you be able to get that? I don't know, but maybe the act of impeaching him in Congress is enough. It's becoming the rule almost instead of the exception with presidents these days. And that just speaks to the rotten and putrid state of American politics. Thank God there's still some people with integrity who are willing to stand up to try to get our rights back for us, okay? And I'm not just talking about finding out about the UAP task force and UFOs, which are apparently real, according to Congress, which you can see in my other videos. But I'm talking about our First Amendment rights, our Fourth Amendment rights, our Fifth Amendment rights, and our Sixth Amendment rights. I talked to you on a video today about an application on your phone that you might not know is on your phone because it runs in the background of other apps, and it's called Silver Push, all right? Silver Push. So go look at that. I hope I've said that right. I think it is called Silver Push. But it's constantly listening to you, ambient recording. So my phone, it's in my pocket, it's not on, it's recording me. Every time I pass gas or have an argument with someone, or every time I try to think something through for myself, it's listened to by others. The entire conversation is recorded, and then it's sent to either government groups or to advertisers. So go and watch my short video on YouTube about Silver Push, and you're gonna see what the United States is allowed to happen through businesses. And maybe they're saying, oh, it's not the government, it's just the business. Well, who's regulating this crap, you know? And then we see what happened with Senator McConnell the other day, where Senator McConnell essentially died standing up, looking straight ahead in the middle of a press conference. He drew a blank for about 20 seconds where he was unable to blink or speak, right? If he was a combatant commander in a combat zone, they were taking fire, and his men are like, sir, what do we do? And he pauses for 20 seconds and stares off into the distance. That's the impact, right? Oh, he's just sitting in an office, in the highest office in the land, determining what's okay for Americans and what's not. Are you okay with him having a stroke or a seizure or post-concussion syndrome, or just like having a senior moment, whatever you want to call it, for 20 seconds? How many weapons and dollars is that man in charge of? How many weapons and dollars does the man potentially command? All right. And furthermore, all respect to Senator McConnell. He's done a great job over a long period for the Republican Party and for Kentucky, and we respect him. But he needs to get the hell aside and out of the game. If you were his football coach and you watched your quarterback space out like that after having a concussion, you wouldn't put him back in the game to get hit, you know? And every time he spaces out on camera or in a meeting or when an important decision needs to be made, it weakens the United States of America. Our adversaries see us as old and doughy and soft and weak instead of young and agile and nimble and tough. All right, and that's how we need to be perceived on the international stage. We'll certainly work with you from a diplomatic perspective, but we're smart and we know what you're up to, and we already have 5 plans for that, and if you mess with us, you're gonna get it, okay? Not like, hey, what if we just send you several $billion, will you please not mess with us too much anymore like we do with Iran, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today with citizens. I hope this has been informative. Again, all my information is coming from the House Oversight Committee and from the House Judiciary Committee. So that's where all this information is coming from. The videos are posted to X-Ray America. You can go on X-Ray America and you can watch these videos in real time. You can see that they're true. You can see the sources. And you can watch your congressmen and women, your elected representatives, tell you what's going on here in the United States, and it's shocking. And a year ago, you'd be shadow banned or arrested for saying some of these things. It was seen as so terrible. RFK was literally censored by the Biden administration. His own Democrat rival was the first one to be censored. What does that tell you? Judge Terry Doughty said that the Biden administration was working with Stanford and University of Washington to edit the internet, to go on and just remove posts from the internet. And you can read the judge's injunction. You can listen to the lawyer, Mr. Sauer, make the argument to the American people. All right, you have to wake up, citizens. If you don't wake up, it's only going to get worse. It is bad enough already, okay? And we're the most resilient and capable country in the world. And I call on you to put your differences aside and freaking talk it out on my channel. That's why I'm not shadow banning like the trolls or whatever. You have a different view? Great. Put your different view in the chat as a gentleman or a lady and argue why. Okay? Because the only way our country is going to get better, only way we're going to heal this divide is if we come together and talk and treat each other like people with respect. All right, we're done shouting at each other in big lines like a Braveheart battle. That's just ridiculously foolish. Okay? So we're going to use electronic media and we're going to use physical free speech to have a discussion with Americans and visitors to understand their expectations related to the American reality and how they think we can make it better. It seems as if our national policy writers either don't know any better, they just simply don't know because they're not smart or experienced enough, or they know better and are refusing to implement the correct policies. So either you're too dumb to know the right thing to do, and that's why we have to pay Iran billions of dollars every few years, or you're really smart and you know exactly what to do and you're ignoring it to do the wrong thing on purpose. Which is it? Which is it? All right, if you work for an executive agency or you're a high-ranking military officer, you know what? I'll give you a pardon in the military because you have to obey orders. But if you work for an executive agency or if you're a politician, you've seen this crap coming for a long time and you've ignored it just so you can go on vacation or get a promotion or keep your security clearance. All right, and that is not the American way. When a good American leader becomes aware of a problem and when they know how to fix a problem, they must stand up. Indeed, they must dig their heels in, they must entrench, and they must respectfully and articulately solve the damn problem. If we didn't do that, we would never have a country in the first place. All right, and this country is worth protecting. It's worth supporting. We're the most resilient country in the world. All right, we're the strongest country in the world. So I just want to respectfully encourage you. I know a lot of you on the channel here on X-Ray America are already awake. Thank you. But we need to talk to our church groups and our kids' sports teams. All right, we need to talk, hey, go to a parent-teacher conference, even if you might get put on a terrorism watch list. And there's a video about that from Congressman Jordan on the House Judiciary Committee who does an interview. And during the congressional sworn statement evidence, we come to learn that the FBI set up snitch lines, that's his quote, so mothers could rat on mothers at PTA meetings, and the Richmond FBI office set up a whole task force to target Catholics and call them extremists. Furthermore, President Biden refuses to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to the White House, saying, I've only invited him to America, just not to the White House. So we're watching the United States give billions of dollars to Iran again, while Iran develops hypersonic ballistic missiles, which they say can destroy Israel's Iron Dome defenses and American defenses. We have 4 hostages there. 3 are Americans. 1's a German who lived in America for an extended period of time. He's sentenced to death. He was abducted forcefully in 2020 in Dubai, and he was sentenced to death in Iran. So, Jamshid. So we're calling on Iran to release our hostages, and we're calling on our State Department to put the pressure on, okay? You guys know what's happening in Niger right now. You know that Russia is pushing our buttons in Niger because we're boot stomping them in Ukraine. And they're trying to pick a bigger fight in Syria right now. It's what's happening globally related to Russia, okay? And, I mean, South America, too. You see their president, Brazil, refuses to pass us a Russian detainee who should come back to the United States, right? So we're seeing it happen in South America and Africa. We're seeing it happen in Syria. We're seeing it happen in Eastern Europe. With Russia, that's something to keep your eyes on, patriots, but keep your laser focus here on the United States, all right? Keep your laser focus here. Listen to what the House Oversight Committee has said about the millions of dollars which have been paid to more than 5 members of the Biden family for access. according to the House Oversight Committee's written statements on their .gov website. Furthermore, on the Justice Committee's website, the U.S. Congress Judiciary Committee, the Judiciary Committee, which is chaired by Congressman Jordan from Ohio, you know that Hunter's laptop is real. You know people would have changed their votes if they knew it was real. You knew the FBI sat on it for months before the election, and you know that 50 intelligence officials deliberately lied to you to say that it appeared to be Russian disinformation. So, should we really be asking for foreign spies to be released from cages when foreign spies here at home, or when domestic spies here at home lie to us to throw our own election? Yeah, because it wasn't these guys in the cage who lied to us. These guys in the cage are trying to get democracy in Iran, right? They're trying to show the bright light from the lighthouse of America into the dark sea of the world to Iranians, and that's why they're in a cage right now, all right? $17 billion is what was discussed 1 month ago on Fox News as the payment. Now, $2 billion plus was discussed by RFK Jr. on a sworn statement in Congress a few days ago, okay? All right, a little bit of freedom of speech, okay? It's not a noise ordinance, so we're good to go. Patriots, it's so important that you're aware of this. It's so important that you wake up. Please put it in the chat right now so I can capture your primary source intelligence. Do you think we should give Iran billions of dollars for any reason? And if so, for which reasons should we pay Iran billions of dollars after they continue to enrich uranium? They've created a hypersonic ballistic missile program which they say can destroy us. And now we're going to give them billions more dollars for what? They're attacking oil tankers. We've had to send Marines over there. And maybe that's a psyop. You know, hey, let's send some Marines. It'll make everybody think we're tough on Iran, and then we'll send them a few more $1 billion in cash, and nobody will know about it. Well, you will, because I know. Right? Oh, I see right here from Mark. Simple answer, no. All right, Patriots, that's the plan today. We're going to go on a little hike before we call the live stream, and I'm going to try to capture some primary source intelligence from other Americans who are out here by the National Harbor with me. This is such a beautiful area. Our nation's capital is so beautiful. One of the most beautiful areas in the country until you go to like the Rocky Mountains and the Grand Canyon and Big Bend National Park, right? And Big Sur. So until we do all that, Washington's beautiful. It's certainly, you know, our version of Rome. Our monuments are empowering and inspiring. This is where a lot of America's business gets done. This is where a lot of the acquiescence occurred too for more than a year. That's now come out through the House Judiciary Committee and the House Oversight Committee. Check out the videos on X-Ray America, and let's go hablar con la gente. Let's go talk to the people, all right? But first, cheers.
All right, we're off, folks. Here we go. Always hydrate, right? What's the saying? Hydrate or die? Hydrate or die. All right. Boop. Sweet. All right, I think I have you, folks. This is where we are right here at the National Harbor. Beautiful flags. You can see the Ferris wheel. And there's some really cool statues around here that look like people. Not this one. I'll show you one in a second. But this one's pretty cool. And look what it says right down here. Henry Ford, right? But what does it say above him? American Way Visionary. So if any of you are visionaries, or if any of you have ever been visionaries like on that last YouTube channel we had, I just want to give you a special shout out. How are y'all doing?
All right, how you doing?
I'm good, ma'am. May I ask you a question about freedom or politics, or what you think the United States could best do maybe to help restore relationships in the soul of America? You're good. Okay. What do you think that, do you think we should send $2 billion to Iran for any reason at all? Would it be better to spend $2 billion on veteran health care or on Iranian missiles? I love you guys. I'm sorry to bother you. I hope you have a very nice time. All right. They didn't want to talk, and I don't want to bother them, but we got to wake people up. My intro was way too slow on that, so you got to just hit them with the question next time. Who knows who this is? This says visionary. This is the visionary walkway. So there should actually be an X-ray statue up here in just a minute, but this says visionary. Yeah. So those guys wanted to come over and sit next to me and hear me talking, but they didn't want to have a discussion. All right. And then here's another visionary. Look. You guys see all these visionaries? Does anybody have a favorite Winston Churchill quote? Anybody have a favorite quote from Winston Churchill? That is Winston Churchill. And then separating, that was Freudian, celebrating the impact that women had during the Second World War. And if you look up who invented Velcro and who invented duct tape. Look up who invented Velcro specifically, and you might be really interested, okay? It was a woman. And I think that Velcro was invented to get ammo cans open faster in Second World War. Gosh, I've been there before, except I was wearing a Marine uniform, you know what I mean? Well said, Mark. All right, we're gonna go down to the harbor right now. We'll try to talk to some people. We'll see what they have to say, and then hopefully we can continue to increase awareness. Hey, sir, if I gave you $2 billion, what would you do for America with it? If you could spend it on anything, $2 billion. Good man, education. Thank you, sir. Gentleman says education he'd spend it on. So I like what these folks said, and I'll keep my camera over here. I don't want to bother you. These folks said, hey, veterans healthcare would be better than sending it to Iran. And that guy back there said education. So now we know a more direct approach is better with the questions. But that's how much the United States is looking at sending to Iran. They've already sent over $2 billion. You can go and read the House Judiciary Committee's report. Hey, y'all, how are you? If I gave you $2 billion, how would you use it to help America? Or what problem could we best solve with $2 billion? Yes, ma'am, I think so. John Locke talks about that, right? Rulers only rule by the power of those who they govern. And that's what happened with the English Revolution in 1688, and that's why it happened here. So change the government through peaceful, nonviolent voting, I would say. That's what I'm for. Yes, ma'am. What do you think? I would spend it on veterans health care and education. Education for the whole country and veterans health care. Free education. Okay, it's a hard question. Only reason I mention it is because we're sending another $2 billion in cash to Iran. And you can see it on X-Ray America. Hope you have a good day on YouTube. Yes, ma'am. Those ladies were nice. That lady was very engaged, and you know, I think that they had some wonderful comments. I love collecting perspectives. That's the whole purpose of this channel, is to collect perspectives from everyday Americans, right? Look at all these visionaries down here. We came to the right spot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I am X-ray, right? I do have the X-ray vision. I can see through all the BS for you guys, and the people who watch the channel are often called the visionaries, the X-Ray Vision visionaries. So X-Ray America, you can watch the whole thing. And we just ended up with a bunch of visionaries here today by the National Harbor, which is super cool, right? I'll come show you this one more time and then we'll work down. Hey, if I gave you $2 billion, what would you do for America with it? What could we best do with $2 billion, sir? $2 billion. Education, good. Very good. Very good. Where are you from? Welcome. How do I say welcome in German? I have no idea. Willkommen. All right, good. Thank you. I hope you have a great day and enjoy your time here from Germany. What have you noticed in America that maybe you didn't expect before you came over here? Is there anything that you noticed? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Do you see a difference between 10 years ago and now related to freedom in America? Or does it seem about the same from your perspective? That's right. So you see cultural changes in the United States where people maybe have more freedoms, you're saying, to at least be more vocal. Cool. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great visit. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so that gentleman was from Germany. Let me flip you around, guys. That gentleman was from Germany, and he said that he saw differences in like LGBTQ acceptability and openness. That's what he said. He's from Germany, and he said that's what he's seen as a difference between 10 years ago and now here in the United States, Patriots. Let's see what else. Hey, ladies. How are y'all? Are you here to give me that high five? Because I saw you point at me. You know, 3 pretty ladies point at me. I just want to say hello. Hey, y'all, if I gave y'all, if I gave you $2 billion and you could do anything you want for America, what would you fix? What would you do? $2 billion.
Probably the agriculture.
What would you do with agriculture? I haven't heard that from anybody yet. It's a great answer. Yeah.
Well, I would just fix like not like most like the agriculture, but like the system of like the police enforcement.
Okay.
And just fix like and like get hotels for the poor because they need it.
Okay, so helping with housing. Okay. And then I know with agriculture, I've got some friends who are farmers, and the government tells them like what seed they've got to buy and how they plant it, and
I think water. Yeah, we need water, but like there's also other things we can use besides water. Like,
yeah.
We can stop using oil and start using like energy or anything like that.
The sun's pretty hot,
Yeah, like,
right? Solar power is working pretty well in a lot of states.
That's what, and we could try to use cow milk to like start coffee and everything. That's what I do.
That sounds cool. All right, I'm sorry to slow y'all down. Thank you, miss. I appreciate you talking to me. Y'all want to tell me anything else? What can we do with $2 billion? Take care of the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I like that. So we're going to put $2 billion in the planet with these ladies. Thank you all very much. Have a good one. Yep. All right, so those ladies said that they wanted to put their $2 billion. The question was, if I give you $2 billion and you're in charge of the United States of America, because we're sending another $2 billion in cash to Iran now. So instead of that, what would you do for America? We've heard people say veterans health care. We've heard people say education. Hey, how are y'all doing? I like your hat, ma'am. Doing real well, thank you.
What you doing over there? What's the camera about?
You want to know? You want to meet my friends?
Yes, of course.
Hey, y'all, I got some new friends here. Yeah, I'm just talking to random citizens. And I've got a channel called X-Ray America. And the
Okay.
House Judiciary Committee and the House Oversight Committee came out with like, Congress laid a bunch of like, stuff out. Like wild stuff,
Yeah.
BS, a lot of
conspiracy
BS.
theory stuff. But yeah, now they're saying they're bringing witnesses in. And so now you got federal judges saying it. So there's some federal judges and congressmen here. There's some congressmen and president here. And we're divided as a country. So I'm trying to bring America closer by just talking to people.
We've been divided for a long time.
That's right.
now.
That's right.
For a long
I'm
time.
trying to come together with people and say, Martha,
Yeah.
what can we do better as Americans to try to heal the divide? And
So
come
what are your
together?
thoughts?
I think that we need to increase access to education related to things that are actually true. And that we need to take some of the George Orwell Ministry of Information, Nick Tuck, clean up the internet.
I mean,
That's
you
got to go.
but you don't see the 1984 book.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
don't see-
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So I think that it's education. And some of that on one side, my friends on the Democrats, liberal Democrat, very extreme, might say, we need CRT. And I say, I think CRT is a good idea. Well, do we need it in kindergartens? Right? Or does it come in the workplace? Or does it come in high school? Or does it come in college? You know, when children think that they can be an apple or a tree when they grow up, what's the level of reasoning? Is it the right time? On the same time, the conservative side might say, get that all out of here. What we need to teach people is only what we think. You know, and look at some people like Senator McConnell and like President Biden, who's been in office for ever. You know, Senator McConnell just blacked out like this for 20 seconds, couldn't speak or phone. You know, while he was on live TV, Republican Senator. You know? So, you know, what I think we got to do is we got to talk to people. And so I'm trying to have this channel and going to people like y'all and I'm saying, well, what if I gave you $2 billion, I put you in charge of America? Because policy writers watch this. You know, policy writers watch this and they will hear talk about it every day. So I'm talking to the people with the true truth.
Right.
Give to the people who think that our bosses, you know,
So we being recorded right now.
oh, we're live.
Okay.
You're on TV. You know what I mean? What's up? That's that X-ray. I'm sorry.
What's up? We on TV. I'm back here. Yeah, what's up? Straight from Miami.
Okay.
And I agree with them. We don't like the BS. You know what I'm saying? We don't like the BS that's going on.
That's the whole thing. X-ray America is about shut down the BS, even if it's the alien stuff, right? That had them in Congress yesterday that said it's true. Okay, cool. Right? At least you said it was true.
Right.
You know what I mean? At
But
least
they're
you
not
said
going to
it.
admit to that.
Right.
They want to admit.
So they just did because they're trying to get the federal pilots to report it to a new program, and all the Navy pilots and other pilots
Oh, the
are like, shit,
extraterrestrial?
they're gonna fire me if I say
Extraterrestrial and all this stuff.
shit's real. And they have task forces. That's what I'm
on X-Ray America, I turn on C-SPAN. Like the government live stream which sits in Congress with Gordon Channel. And I do screen recordings of it in like 2 minutes. 4 minutes, and I send that to the people. So,
What's up, man? I'm
check
glad
it
you
out.
home, too.
Thank you.
Oh, she don't. You
Find
find
it?
Yeah.
So this is my new channel. My last one was Shadow
And it's
Band
called
Real
what?
Hard. We had like
I'm always
30,000.
on you on YouTube.
X-Ray America.
X-Ray America.
X-Ray, like X-Ray.
X-Ray, X-ray.
I
Okay.
help the Americans see through the
X-Ray
bullshit.
America. Okay.
Yeah. So hey,
Okay.
just tell us, what else could we do? Right, we've come together and had a good conversation.
Right.
Even though I accidentally hit you a little bit, you did a cold
Yeah, you
punch.
did. You bumped me. I kind of like stumped you.
Yeah, I did do like the punch
I
and
was just
fall,
joking.
and you know, the kicker falls down and acts like
Right.
they got me.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. That's what's
I
up.
think it's dialogue and it's learning about other
And
people.
truth.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
And true.
And true.
And she has an educational background.
Okay, tell me about that.
My background?
Well, you work in education, so you're a
Yes,
teacher
yes.
or an administrator?
Yes. Both.
Do you think that, so you want to talk about CRT? Here's the thing for me, because I'm a teacher. So, do you want teachers to be out and parents to be able to have a say in what's taught in the class in different regions of the country? Or should a government in Washington say, this is the material, this is what you have
Well,
to
I
teach,
think
nothing else
as
can
long
be
as
taught
it's
in?
the truth.
Because those are the two sides of the argument.
Yeah.
So
You
this
know what I
way you
mean?
go. So Ron DeSantis.
How do you like Ron
Florida.
DeSantis? How do you
Like
like
what
He's
him?
not,
he's
he's
doing.
not my guy, necessarily.
That's
As a non, you know what I mean? I'm not picking a candidate right now on this channel.
No, we go about how you said
Yeah.
when they want to say what they want to say, they want us to do what they want versus what we want. So it's going back on that, piggybacking on that. You know,
I mean, it's
what's
okay
going
to
on with
learn
this
from
thing?
all the perspectives as long as it's true.
Right.
Because not once did I ever hear that slaves benefited from being slaves.
That's right.
They brought the skills to this country,
Right.
and built it.
Indeed, the country wouldn't have been able to become a country. And we talked all morning about like how the colonists were pushed into having to go into revolution. I
called the line.
A lot of people be
I don't have as much knowledge as I should have. You're exactly right to mention that. I think that's absolutely appropriate, especially the agrarian culture associated with the South and all of the cotton and tobacco that was being produced to like pay France to send generals and weapons and
But we have a
militants to
place
come and
right
help us.
down here in Sauterley, Maryland. And they're still standing with the slave quarters and the tobacco fields.
Really?
And when you go there, they tell you all that. It's the truth. But it's okay that it happened. It's not okay, but it happened.
It's not okay.
But we
Yeah.
have to still live in the truth.
That's right.
It's nothing.
It's the most,
about that.
I'm
that
from Florida.
were the most disgusting things that have ever happened in world history.
Yeah.
I'm from
Unfortunately,
Florida.
that was the way of the world from the first humans who said, boom, come here, you know, or whatever.
I'm from Florida and I have a cousin that still works tobacco fields. To this day.
Still.
Yeah. On my mom's side. To this day.
Get it changed.
Yeah, but not. Yeah. But not nearly as much as she should.
Colorado.
I was slow now. I'm just joking.
No, I think you make very good and fair points.
Yeah.
So, what is something, maybe a point related to that dark scar in American history, right? That horrible scar in American history. It also existed everywhere in the world until America stood up and said no, right? And I know we just celebrated Juneteenth, which happened way too late, right? I get that. But you think about warring peoples and weapons and geography and like how you going to, right? You couldn't text. What are you going to, you got to fight your way down there, and that's what they had to do, is fight their way down there. What do people need to know now? It's obviously very hurtful. It's a very negative part of our history.
I don't
But what
think
can we
it's,
do now? What do we need to be aware of now to help go to the next phase?
in my opinion, we use the term woke. Everyone at this point is woke.
Woke or awake? My people are awake. Yes,
Our
ma'am.
people are woke. Meaning they are fully aware of what's happening.
Yep.
Now, that's it. That's all we can do.
Oh, okay. We call that awake.
Yeah.
We call it a
That's
woke
all
in
we
the
can
position
do.
of certain agendas.
They know if at any point they want to make a change,
Yeah.
that's on them.
Okay. So you're saying information's out there. People
Right.
know. People are choosing to do the wrong thing. Even though
Yes,
they might know
absolutely,
better.
absolutely.
I asked the policy writers of the country this today. Are you too dumb to know the right thing to do, or do you know better and you just don't choose to not do it?
That's what it
One or the
is.
other.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. They
Right.
know, but they know as long as it's not affecting them, they can turn their eyes or make up an excuse. Well, if they would this or if they would that, then that won't happen. But
Ask
it's
this,
still
work as a teacher, right? Would it affect your vote, whether you can have a say in what you teach or not? Would that affect teachers' votes?
Actually, we have our own curriculum writers that I work for a county around here.
Yes, ma'am.
So we do have our own curriculum writers. So some teachers, administrators, and people from different departments, they all have a say sometimes of what can go in there.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so there's a say, and it comes from the people who are doing it. And that happened after Governor McAuliffe lost the job. Collins lost the job in Virginia, right? This guy in Virginia was like, you're nothing but this, nobody's going to have a say. We've got the FBI to set up a switch line so parents can report each other at the PTA.
Yeah.
And that's on the camera too. So,
You got a mind.
Yeah.
they fired the governor.
They tried to govern them.
That's right. Because it was a dictatorship, and Virginia
But
said,
that's
we're
what's
not going to
going
have
on
it.
in Florida.
Yeah,
And at least 1/3 of the country, or let me see, Floridians, a majority of that population don't think the mind. But,
Really cool. I think it's stuff, you guys can take this stuff out.
Oh, I gotta say, hail to my daddy, Donald Trump. I love you, daddy. You know.
All right. So I'm not making any comment. I know that song with a really good line.
What's the song? What's the song? I wanna hear it, man. What's the song?
No, I think, but,
No, I like to hear all the good stuff.
I think somebody was on the content.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
It's
It's good to know there's still people out here.
Thanks for helping.
It's good to know there's people still out here for the people. That's good.
Thank you all so much.
Likewise.
See, all right. All right, these people were awesome. I hope you were able to hear that. We were talking with some citizens from Florida. See you, Floridians. And one lady is a teacher, and she says, oh, well, I work for a county here in Virginia, and we have a say in what goes into the education here now. And I said, yeah, it's because y'all fired your governor, because before you didn't have a say, so you fired your governor, and now you have a say. And that guy's name is Terry McAuliffe, McAuliffe, right? And he was fired. Lost his job as the governor because he refused to listen to the people. So teachers care about making sure that they're teaching things they believe in. Nobody wants to be a teacher and then go like, you don't study 16th century French literature to be a French literature teacher at a college, and then they're like, hey, we need somebody to teach algebra. You think you can do it, honey? You know, no. So, all right, we want to teach information that we believe in and information that we know to be true. And here in Virginia, that's happening. Really good perspectives here. Those people said that truth is what's important to them. They want to see more truth in government. How are you?
How about you?
I'm good. Ma'am, if I gave you $2 billion, how would you help the world?
Oh,
What would you do? She'd wait to see where we develop businesses, and then she would travel to that region and attempt to gain meaningful employment from one of those businesses while not understanding maybe she understands, but she doesn't seem to care. You know what I mean? All right, ready to go find some more people? I want to go by the same people over here. Maybe we can go down by the water, see if we find anybody over there. I'm gonna flip you. Flip it and reverse it. And please feel free to put in the chat. I would love to hear from you. If you had $2 billion and you were in charge of the United States, what would you do? What would you do with $2 billion to try to help the United States of America? I think that I would spend money on veteran health care and veteran housing. I think I would try to take immediate steps to mitigate the impact of veteran housing and veteran health care to try to reduce the number of veteran suicides per day. Furthermore, I would design and implement plans and training programs to motivate and inspire students to increase resiliency in an effort to increase hope, to decrease annual school shootings in the United States of America. So I try to get the school shootings number down, which has only gone up with critical race theory's implementation. Implementation of critical race theory is associated with increases in mass shooting numbers, which have gone up this year in schools. And I was at Virginia Tech during the Virginia Tech massacre. That was after I got back from a volunteer deployment to Iraq. So school shootings are important to me because my brother was on campus and I was right there at Virginia Tech when that school shooting happened. And so trying to get the numbers of school shootings down in the United States of America is really important to me. And I think that if we inspire children from a position of truth, right? You heard that lady say we need to start telling people things that are true. So the more truth that we can get out, obviously, the better. And with that said, let me just make a quick caveat. I get that some things need to be secret, right? It's very important for the positioning and capability of the United States of America for certain things to remain secret. But certain things are not secret, like our 4 hostages in Iran that need to be released right now, right? Release our hostages in Iran. We said their names earlier. You can go back and you can watch that part of the video. The Biden administration, again, is sending a multi-billion-dollar payment to Iran, and it's certainly something that frustrates this Marine, right? I hate to see us continuously sending billions of dollars to Iran when all they've done is continue to enrich weapons-grade uranium, and furthermore, they've created a hypersonic ballistic missiles program in-house, which they say can defeat Iron Dome in Israel and American defenses. So United States is important to me, our positioning and defense is important to me, and that's kind of what we're out here talking about. So if we don't send that money to Iran, put it in the chat. What would you spend $2 billion on to help America? What is the social problem, issue that you would address, and how would you do it with $2 billion? Please put it in the chat. Cool, thanks. Hey, how are you? If I gave your family $2 billion, ma'am, what would you spend it on to help America be better? Anything at all, or sir, anything you could think of. Oh, you're Germans. Well, welcome. Welcome to the United States. What would you do in Germany with $2 billion?
Give it to the community.
Okay. Education, very good. I talked to another German, he said the same thing. Yeah, Americans say the same thing. Very good. I hope you have a wonderful trip. Yeah. So a nice German family here, they said they would spend it on education. Hey, how are y'all? What would y'all spend $2 billion on in America if you could fix any problem? Any problem, because right now we're sending another $2 billion to Iran. And so I've just got to say, I'd love to see that go to education or veterans health care or homelessness, really good. Yes, ma'am. Access to housing. Sorry to bother you. Thank you all. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, very much. Sir, what do you think? Anything else? I think homelessness is great. I'm here in education. Putting it towards veterans, especially healthcare would be great. VA's killing us. And then healthcare in general, right? Thank you. Where are y'all from? Georgia. Thank you so much. We're on X-Ray America. It's just, I talk to citizens around the country to try to understand how we think we could do better for America, you know, so. All right, thank you. I hope you have a great day. Good. All right, oh, we got a flyover. All right, so that was great, folks. We got to talk to several people about their policy alternatives. How are you, ma'am? Hey, if I gave you $2 billion, how would you help America? All right, she says she would just wave. Hey, if I gave y'all $2 billion, how could we fix America? If I gave you $2 billion in cash, what should we spend it on, ma'am? Education, good one. I'm sorry, in healthcare? Equity in healthcare, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Really good comments. So guys, we got equity in healthcare. Housing, right? Okay, I hear you. Housing, these people said veterans healthcare. How are y'all? If I gave you $2 billion, how could we help fix America? It's tough, right? Healthcare is good. We're sending another $2 billion to Iran, you know, so instead of that, let's help the people, you know? X-Ray America, check it out. See y'all. All right, good. So they're waking up too. We got some good perspectives, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds like everybody's saying that they want to see the money spent on education, healthcare, and housing. Education, healthcare, and housing seem to be the biggest issues. And speaking with a number of African American voters, we're hearing about equity in healthcare, right? Representation and equity in selection of topics presented in school. And we actually had the debate
of critical race theory versus parents and teachers having a say in their children's education. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but Governor McAuliffe lost his job here in Virginia, right over there, because he refused to allow parents to have a say in their children's education. That was the deciding issue. And you can Google that and read all about it. There's a lot of analysis around it. But by refusing to allow parents to have a say in the education, to shove a government agenda down their throat, they've literally gone back on the writings of John Locke, which have helped to create the freedoms of Americans in the United States of America. How are y'all? It's going great, sir. Thank you. Hey, welcome home, and thank you for your service, brother.
Yes.
Thank you for your service. Hey, sir, if I gave you $2 billion, and we're just, you know, we have a number of policymakers who watch my live YouTube, but if I gave you $2 billion, what social problem would you try to address? What would you spend it on in America to try to fix some kind of problem, sir?
What would you do?
Well, for me, it's like
For me, it would be
veterans health care,
veterans health care.
education for me.
He's 100% total and permanently disabled veteran.
Sir, thank you for your sacrifice for our country. Thank you.
And that unfortunate war did it.
That's right. So looking at some of the wars that we're fighting internationally and why, might be something worth investing some of that money in. Are we really getting enough out of this, you know? Or do I just have a bunch of friends who I miss and nothing in my hand for why I miss them, you know?
What too? They need to work on the VA.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the VA does not, I mean, I fought 3.5 years to give him disability. 3.5 years.
What were they saying? Why did they block it?
They denied every claim on him, and then in the end gave him 100% total and permanent. They always denied it.
Yes, ma'am.
For whatever reason. And they kept saying, you proved this, you proved that. I said, you know what? Finally, I said, you know what? You proved it didn't happen.
That's right.
You sent a man to it. They said, well, what you had, that was back when they did two of the, like, I don't, presumptive reasons why, or 2 reasons why you think he's got PTSD.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, of course.
Dementia.
You go to war, you're going to come back with some of that. That's how it works.
Exactly,
You know, it comes back in our pack.
He said and he's a combat veteran. And
Yeah,
he
me
said,
too.
Well, what caused it? I said, first of all, the first thing that caused it is you sent him to Vietnam.
That's right.
You should have never sent him to Vietnam. Nobody wanted to go there. They didn't even know why they were there half the time.
right.
I hate to say that. But then,
After World War II, we took half of the military equipment and we sent it there. You know, had to use it.
exactly.
You know, we're just going to let it sit there. My grandfather was a Marine in Vietnam. 3-3.
Terrible.
Not anymore. Now you're a hero. Thank you for your service, sir. We honor you. Everybody on this channel honors you. Guys, put something in the chat for the gentleman,
Bill Housen.
for Bill, all right? And we're X-Ray America if you see it on YouTube. And there are a lot of videos here. Check out what the House Judiciary Committee, House Oversight Committee are saying, you know? Everything that was a conspiracy theory a year ago is now shouted with a full throat in Congress. They're saying it's true. Federal judges are saying it's true. That's right.
I got 4 people with full disability because I did.
Good job.
VA.
Thank you for your service, ma'am.
Yeah, really.
And miss, you can't get off that easy. Well, miss, what do you think we should do with $2 billion to help America? I've heard their perspectives. What do you think we should do? Or is everything perfect? And shut up, guy with the camera. You know, but what could we do, miss?
I mean, definitely education and like schools need
Yeah.
it a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's not just it's public education, but they need part of it.
Mhm.
And obviously, my dad was in the military and stuff, so.
Thank you all for your service, your whole family.
Yeah.
So ways that America could take better care of veterans. Stop telling lies about all the crap you're doing for veterans that you're not really doing for veterans would be the first thing I say.
I just put my 3rd call in because he's supposed to help me get some health care with somebody coming into the house to kind of give me a break.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, of course.
3rd call today and I haven't got the call back, so.
They refer you and refer you and refer you, and often there's nobody there. They just send you to a call, but there's nobody answering, you know.
Just denied my one friend who was a caregiver for her stepfather and her mother. He's 80%, but she said she should be getting something that's the caregiver.
That's right.
He should be actually having more access to things for him.
That's
But
right.
For him as the disabled person, they denied her, and I said, that's okay. We'll come back at him.
Yes, ma'am.
Because they deny you all the time.
Thank you for helping me capture other people's perspectives and to show that they're similar to mine. Thank you very much. Yeah, very nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for your service. Ow! Get some. All right, these people are all right. We met some patriots here, folks. So if you're just tuning in, we were talking to this family about some of the issues and trouble that they've had trying to access VA health care for the gentleman who served in Vietnam, right? And they were talking about some of the wars that we've been fighting forever in different parts of the world. And I understand and respect that some of those are necessary, but some of them should be conducted much more quietly, you know? just don't let us know if some of this stuff has to happen. And if some of this stuff has to happen, then you need to present it in a way that the American people are cool with, right? Because if the American people come to find stuff out, it was like happening, that wasn't cool, we're gonna be mad. Hey y'all, sorry. What can I do with $2 billion to make America better? Here's $2 billion. I'm not gonna give it to Iran like Biden did right now. I'm gonna give it to you. How can I make America better with $2 billion? I'm on X-Ray America on YouTube.
Help some homeless people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Help some homeless
And
people
some
out.
hungry people.
Very good job.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you think, miss?
I don't know. Free healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay, so healthcare and housing.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Very good answers. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for talking to me, all right? Good. So guys, we're gonna break down barriers. All right, we're gonna talk to whoever we can. We're breaking down the barriers. What's up? We're breaking down barriers that other people think exist, which I don't think exist. And you've seen that only a couple people didn't really want to talk. Almost everybody else wanted to talk. And so it's refreshing to be able to communicate with Americans on the street. And you guys are able to see this live at home. What do people in Maryland at the National Harbor think? What do they think? How do they think that we could maybe do a little bit better? And we're hearing people talk about education, about housing, about rights and support for veterans. But most of the people in the area have talked about housing and they've talked about healthcare and education. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Ladies, if I gave you $2 billion and you could do anything to help America with $2 billion, what would y'all do? It's a hard question. Homeless.
Exactly.
These ladies say homeless. Really, I'm on X-Ray America and I just go talk to citizens about how to make the country better so our policymakers can see what we want, you know, and not say we never told them.
Healthcare.
What is it about healthcare that could specifically be improved,
I feel
ma'am?
like everybody should have access to health.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
I hope y'all have a great day.
You
Thank
too.
you for talking to me. Thanks.
Well,
All right, so they say healthcare, that everybody should have access to healthcare. What is the Republican response to that statement? Does anybody know? How are you going to pay for it? And then Bernie Sanders comes up and he's like 30% tax. So that's the debate. What's up? Hey, sir, if I gave you $2 billion, what would you spend it on to make America better or to like help heal some of the divides in the country?
I'll redo a whole bunch of the black communities, man.
What can we, access to what? To technology, internet, computers,
Yeah, everything.
good grocery stores,
Yep.
education,
close
what
the
else?
gap up, man.
Let me
Close
show
the
them.
wealth gap up. That's what I do with it. Close the wealth gap up. Put a lot of black-owned businesses right there. You know what I'm saying? Things that's gonna bring up the community.
Right now, the stratification of wealth, you can't even afford to be middle class anymore.
can't,
And
man.
they made $1 billionaire a day during the lockdowns. All that money got shifted over to billionaires.
For sure, man. And then I put some gardens out there, man.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Community gardens.
that's right. I think that's
Feed-
great.
Feed us better food.
Freaking put bees on the roof to pollinate everything in the gardens.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, hey, you're on X-Ray America on YouTube. Thank you, sir, for taking time to talk to me. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. So we're talking to all different people from all different parts of the country. How y'all doing? Hey, if I gave you $2 billion, what would you do for America? What problem would you solve? Instead of sending it to Iran, how should we spend the $2 billion? He says to send it to Iran. We're getting a lot out of that. I don't want to bother you ladies, Shereen, but do you have something that we could spend that money on to help America? It's a tough question. They're not into it. We're going to keep going. All right, so what are we hearing? We're hearing black-owned businesses support the actual communities, give people a chance to win. These are policies that I've submitted and that I've yelled full-throatedly, right, to the United States. And ways to do that are like, give the kids in these disadvantaged urban areas better access to food first. Give them access to exercise and give them access to education and communications. And then give them support, like consistent freaking mentor-style support, right? And that's for everybody. That's not
one group or another group. That's everybody needs that. Hey, how are you? Good. Hey, if I gave you $2 billion, how can we make the world better? With $2 billion?
No idea.
President Biden sending another $2 billion to Iran. That's why I asked. You know, we keep sending them billions in cash. So I'm just talking to Americans about, hey, how can we better invest that in like education or healthcare or, you know.
I hear you, man.
Thanks. Yeah, X-Ray America. See you guys. All right, hopefully they wake up, they'll see this, right? I have no idea, he said, how to make America better. Hey, how are y'all doing? I'm good. We talked before, right?
No, I saw you on the waterfront recording.
What's up? Hey, I'm just asking Americans. This is X-Ray America on YouTube. I just talk to people all over the country and say, how can we make the country better? How can we break down barriers? Or if I gave you $2 billion today, what would you spend it on to make America better?
$2 billion?
$2 billion with the B, ma'am.
Homeless.
Homeless.
Easy.
So getting people into affordable housing.
Yes.
Because with the stratification of wealth, we made a billionaire every day during COVID. We can't afford to be middle class anymore.
Middle class
Housing's
is no
crazy
longer
expensive.
middle class.
Transportation's expensive. So you say housing for homeless.
Yes.
Very good answer. We're on X-Ray America. Where are y'all from?
Ohio.
Ohio is good. You all have a congressman from Ohio named Mr. Jordan, and he's yelling real loud in Congress about a bunch of problems right now.
As he should.
And all the videos are on here. You go watch them.
What is it called?
X-Ray America.
X-Ray
Go watch all the
America.
videos. It'll tell you everything that's really happening in America that you're not supposed to know about.
Thank
You know,
you.
and that's why
I
I'm
will
getting
go
the true
follow.
truth from the people. You know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great trip, great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let me not get run over. Oh God, it's a Tesla. You don't even hear it when it comes to hit you. Just whoosh. All right. So I thought that was great. We got to talk to a lot of citizens about how they would try to improve the United States if they were given the same amount of money that the United States is sending to Iran in cash as a dirty, sandy bribe in exchange for nothing. So great conversations. Really glad that y'all are able to be here with me. We'll just maybe come up and we'll work our way back, do a couple more, and then we're gonna call it. But y'all can see how this channel is a little bit different than the last channel. We've got to get in and get people's perspectives. And we've got to show them that we're breaking down barriers and that there are people on all sides who are trying to create a reality of truth, right? In the United States. And not just truth, because a lot of stuff has to be quiet. You know what I mean? And I'm going to push it back for you guys. But a lot of stuff has to be kept quiet in government. I get that. But a lot of stuff needs to be told to the citizens. And a lot of things that are happening need to happen a little bit better, as we've been talking about. What's up, gentlemen? How are you? Gents, if I gave you $2 billion to do anything for America, solve any problem, how would you invest it?
Cancer.
Just cash it.
Cancer.
Oh, cancer. I thought you said cash it.
Cancer.
I think cancer's great. And we're seeing some advancements in cancer treatment right now. Some, you know, but so spending it on cancer, I think that's great. Thank you. What do you think, gentlemen? Anything else? That's what I keep hearing. Homelessness, education, healthcare. So thank you all very much. I'm X-Ray America. I just talk to citizens around the country to collect perspectives. Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah. So homelessness and cancer are what these gentlemen were talking about. They want to invest the money to try to work on cancer. And ironically, he was smoking a cigar while he said that. So at least his policy alternatives are aligned with his social desires. Sir, if I gave you $2 billion, what would you do to make the world better? $2 billion. How could we invest it to make the world a better place, sir? Yeah. Heck yeah.
Better medicine.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of people.
Thank you. We're on X-Ray America. I'm just capturing perspectives. Thank you for sharing with me, sir. So we said we got to feed homeless people better. We got to, so a lot of people talking about homeless, talking about access to food. Groceries have gone up 76%, right? Common foodstuffs, groceries have gone up over 76% in the last 2 years. 76% increase in groceries in the last 2 years. And if anybody knows about that, it's Marilyn Monroe. I'm just kidding, but she is here. And she is a visionary. All right, to all the Marilyn Monroes in the audience, I'm thinking about y'all. Thank you guys for being with me today. We've talked to a lot of different citizens about their perspectives and expectations here in the United States. The purpose of the channel is try to unite Americans through truth
by breaking down divides and having conversations about the issues which affect all of us in real time. We talked about how the Biden administration is sending another $2 billion to Iran. Hey, how are y'all? Hey, if I gave you guys $2 billion, what would you spend it on in America to solve a problem, make the country better? Anything you want to spend it on, miss.
Homelessness.
Homelessness, property, poverty, good. I was going to say. So alleviating poverty, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Come on, you want to tell me what else can we do? How do we do it?
How do we do it?
We just give everybody some cash and be gone.
No. People don't want money.
That's right.
They want responsibility. Give them a job.
That's right, sir.
Something to do.
Opportunity,
They'll change the world.
responsibility to accomplish that American
Yeah.
dream, which we all believe
And
in.
everybody wants to do that.
That's right. Thank you, sir. X-Ray America. Thank you very much for your comments. All right, so this gentleman was just like, I cannot help but give you a really good idea. I got it right here in my brain percolating. And he was kind enough to share his thoughts with all of us. So he said that we need to address poverty. How are you, sir? Hey, if I gave you $2 billion, how would you spend it to help America or the world? You'd just give it to Iran like Biden, 10-4. All right, so he says, I'm not sure. I don't even know what we could do, that guy said, to try to make the country better, which is difficult to hear. But what can you do? All right, we're gonna push it back this way. Hello, ladies. How are y'all?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm all right. No, you're helpful. How can I, if I had $2 billion and I gave it to you, and I put you in charge of America, how would you spend it to help our country, ma'am? That's my whole YouTube channel. I go around the whole country, I talk to people, and then policymakers watch it. And now some of them are waking up. So, what's up? I'm John, I'm X-Ray, it's X-Ray America. Hey, nice to meet you.
Three things.
Yeah, hit me.
Food, housing, medical.
Hell yeah, that's what everybody's saying hello to.
Housing, medical.
Yep, that's it.
And
Exactly.
fit it
Food.
in the order of what the people or the person needs.
Yes, ma'am. Food, housing, and medical care. We're hearing that from everybody.
Education.
Oh, you're good. Because once we educate people, then it's going to pay dividends for us, right? We're going to make better decisions as a society going forward. Good. What else can y'all tell me?
Yeah, I would put medical at the very top because through
Yeah.
healthy medical, through not just responsive medical, but proactive.
That's right.
We don't often have a food shortage in this country. In fact, we're seeing some of our lowest economical groups, communities, having healthcare problems because of inaccessible, healthy food.
That's right. We were just talking about it. That's right.
On top of that, allowing corporations, allowing these people
Come on.
to profit off our prison system, you go back. Kindergarten,
Recidivism is through the roof. That's right.
system, they're supplying the same food, the same companies are feeding them throughout their whole life, feeding them shit because they make
Not
money.
for human consumption on some of the boxes, from what I've heard.
Money off of us being sick.
That's right.
So this is where if we prioritize medical and health in this country,
Yeah.
so much of this takes down.
Which starts with good nutrition.
Don't heal. They medicate.
That's right. There's so much more to healing than a pill, right? It's people. That's right.
But they don't
They don't let you know that.
That's right, miss.
the earth heals us through plant,
That's right.
like through plant medicine, not through the big pharma and things like that.
I am huge on the essential oils. This veteran is huge on the former conservative veteran is huge on the essential oils. I love them. I think they're great. And, yeah, we've got people on the channel who use that, and we've got people who have like gotten rid of their medication, prescription medications, to switch to the oils. I think you're right.
You know, I think too, providing
I teach healthcare, so I'm right with you.
providing space for this sort of conversation.
That's right.
One of the most radical ways of anarchy is to have these communications. Do not allow them to divide us. You're recovering conservative. I feel that, respect that. You know, but
Hey, you're talking to me.
we wouldn't be doing this without your camera.
Yeah.
Likely. So making sure that they do not separate us because we're more powerful together. And together, we're way more powerful than this.
And
We the
actually have
people.
same problem.
We the people. That's right.
Living here, we have the same problems.
You're exactly right. And when our First Amendment is blocked, when we can't go on a neutral platform and just share our ideas, no matter what side we're on, they're blocked on both sides. And now we got a federal judge named Judge Terry Doty who issued an injunction against an administration right now saying you can't go to social media companies and block speech. You can't go to Stanford University and Washington University and just block speech. So we're getting there, right? We're making progress. But you're right. These conversations are how change happens in America.
Yes. Yeah.
What else? Just leave me with the good. Thank you all so much for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate and respect you very much.
You know, of course, I'm gonna put it in.
Come on, you're fun.
I'm gonna put it in the top 3, but if you gave me a little bit extra money right there.
Yeah, I'll give you an extra couple $100 million.
That's
Yeah.
I need more money.
Yeah.
You know, accessibility into art. Art
Yeah.
encapsulates our human history, and it allows us to multimedia. Imagine if we were creating together. You know,
We are.
we get.
But no, I hear you. But I hear you. Yeah.
Right?
No
The
doubt.
art of conversation, communicating, connection, sharing energy, and being able to contribute that encapsulates a moment of history, so it is not forgotten, but we remember. More people are going to look at art, at paintings, at graffiti, at mixed media, at these videos, and they are going to read our history books to learn from. And who is that history documented by?
Ad Victorum Spoilus. To the victor go the spoil.
Right?
Ad Victorum Spoilus.
But providing accessibility into the arts, not allowing that to be gay kept anymore. You know, I'm gonna plug ourselves. We're with Banksy Land down the street. If you look at Banksy,
I don't know what that is. Tell me. Banksy, like the artist?
Yes.
Oh, I like him. There's a thing. There's here.
They're here right now.
Oh, he's like a wonder. He's here.
No, he's not here. They're tours.
Y'all are doing it. Okay. Talk about activism. You were just subtly mentioning that, and I was like, is she an operator? How does she know? You are. Yeah, you're good.
I'm seasoned, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about. But I'm appreciating it. I'm look at what I've done myself like this, and there's a whole world out there.
There's a whole world out there. That's right. Yes, ma'am. What's up, guys?
this is a beautiful conversation, especially with our feminine power. You know, we hold our oral history. You know, respect for those allowing us to speak it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I'm about the truth.
yes,
Yeah.
let me share
I'm about the
Banksy
First Amendment.
is an international street graffiti artist.
Guys, if you don't know about Banksy, you're about to go to school. You're about to go to school.
I'm 60 plus.
Okay.
That's cool. We think he's around his early 50s. And he is from Bristol. He hails
Yeah.
from the UK. And he has done art all over the world to activate and provide accessibility to art, but also to bring the global issues and awareness. He's advocated.
That's right.
Privately purchased a retired Navy war vessel, tagged it up in a
What?
signature look in response to the ignoring distress signals for those refugees sitting on the Mediterranean. He said, no, we do not need politics for this because we have not shown them showing up for us. We need to take this in their own hands. You know, he drops off these refugees in neighboring countries, and when they arrive, he realizes very little resources for them. So he creates this, looks like a dusty old doormat. He went to Walmart probably, he got these things for $5. He takes the trash, which is life vests that are floating bodiless,
Oh, crap. Yeah.
and he takes them and spells out welcome in orange ink. Welcome to this harbor. You know, he's using all these proceeds for life. He remains anonymous.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those people and you get off the boat and you see that, you know, it does a lot for your heart and your soul that, okay, I'm making progress.
That's
I'm
right.
not going to be put in a corner somewhere and ignored, maybe possibly put into a worse situation than what I came from, because I already know what's going on where I come from.
Yes, yes.
I don't know what's going on here, and it's supposed to be safe harbor for me, but it's not. It's worse. Because my child is over there, maybe. But out of my sight, view, it can't. And that's not good. Period.
You know, to have somebody remain anonymous, that his ego is aside. Of course, this keeps him out of legal troubles, being able to face government
No doubt.
property, counterfeit operations.
I saw him do the shredder at the really nice auction. It was like the Christie's auction or something. He sold a piece for what? For over $1 million?
Sold for 1.4 million.
1.4 million. And as soon as they buy it, somebody pushes the button and it drops through a shredder that was built into the bottom of the frame. And it says, screw you for spending all this on art. It's a message. And he just, oh, did it? What happened? Yeah. But in hell, made it incredibly valuable.
Well, you know, he does this because of
You
the
educated me. I didn't know all that.
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
At the time, his work becomes highly commoditized and privatized. Quite the antithesis of why a graffiti artist
That's right.
goes out to share his work.
It's one of the most effective tools of unconventional warfare that the United States uses today abroad.
And it's just, he has a fully functioning